Pops, I hope you're feeling better. And shout out to Lori, too. So definitely keep them in your prayers. John Allen, it's nice to see you. Welcome. Shelly. Hey, Shelly. Welcome, welcome. And I know I've seen more of you, and I hate missing or leaving anybody out. As everybody knows, William Nighthawk, welcome. I'm glad you made it. And yeah, I think that I if I missed you, I do apologize. I promise that I will make it up to you. Today we have two fantastic, absolutely fantastic people. If you didn't see the Phil Graham show, definitely go back and watch it. Phil is an ET experiencer from the UK. He's done all sorts of things in fighting for our freedom. Documentary Playing God, and I mean, he's done and he's taken some phenomenal hits because of what he does. And so he definitely has my ultimate respect. He's phenomenal. The stuff that he and the way that he's able to experience ET is unbelievable. Along with James Gilliland, and everybody knows James from ECETI Ranch, and he also has a fantastic way of communicating with ET, and he always brings lots of pictures and videos. So I thought these two would be absolutely fantastic, and Phil can kind of tell you too, give you a little bit of background on just how important James was to him when he didn't, going through this whole experience. So without further ado, I'm going to bring them both on, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves because they are going to do it much better than I. And so welcome, James, and welcome, Phil. It's my honor to have you both here today. I'm used to saying today. So why don't, for those of you who don't know who James and Phil are, James, why don't you start first and just tell them who you are? I know that's kind of like this. James is a legend, okay? James is a legend. He'll be very modest about everything, but James has become a very good friend, and I honestly appreciate I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your work, your dedication, and all you do. So yeah, if you can, James, kind of tell people who you are and what you do, and we'll go from there. I think you're muted, James. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Going on. How about now?
You're good now. Yes.
Oh, okay. My least favorite subject is talking about myself, but anyway, God, I don't know where to start. I mean, I've had 2 near-death experiences, several white light experiences, going back and forth, traversing the dimensions for, I hate to say how long, since 5 years old, long time. But I've had appearances of the masters appear. We have photographs of them appearing, and all kinds of ships, every different race has been appearing. I don't know, I can go on and on, but I've had a pretty wild and crazy life. So nothing shocks me anymore. Now I just go, okay, that was interesting, but the only thing that shocks me is the divine right to stupidity that the planet is expressing right now. That kind of shocks me. The behavior of our leaders and even people in the UFO and spiritual community, that continuously shocks me. It's just like, what? Who are you people? But anyway, that being said,
yes.
I'll leave it at that.
Well, I told you if you ever want to come on and name names, I'll help you do so.
I've got quite a list.
Oh gosh. And how about you, Phil? You want to tell them who you are again?
Sure.
If you guys have not seen, go back. They both have been on here before. Definitely go back and check out old James shows and Phil shows. They're fantastic. They really are.
Lovely to see you again, Coley. James, pleasure to meet you. I'm Phil. Like Coley alluded to, freedom's very important to me. Has been for a long time. I've been knee-deep in the conspiracy stuff for a while, and I've been having contact since I was a child, but it's really kind of ramping up now, or had been since I was an adult. Again, just as Coley said, like in the early days for me, James really helped me watching his content. It was really helpful, and I'm really appreciative for it. And just trying to further develop my skills with having contact. And yeah, that's about me in a nutshell, really.
Nice.
Yeah, Phil, like myself, James knows a lot about what I've done, but he's really been out there throughout all of this and front lines, and he took hits on it. He took big hits on it, and it's so. But the contact that Phil that has, and James, I know that you also have that type of contact. Phil, can you explain a little bit last time you were on the show on how you're able to, I know we talked about the belief system, but just how close, because I think James will find this absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. How close? What exactly? Sorry.
And how you have contact with them, or like maybe you go into like your first contact, like situation where and how close they got and how they kind of came in and that part of it. I found this, it just blew me away when you talked about it
Yeah,
before.
sure. I mean, my first contact scenario when I was an adult. I was with a friend of mine who actually introduced me to them, and I think he might be on soon. And it was all very close, and there was more, two witnesses. I managed to get face to face with this being, interact with her. At that time, I was trying to validate that what I was experiencing was real. In what I knew to be in the sense of real. I checked to make sure she was solid. She was. I touched her on the shoulder. There was lots of telepathic communication that went on. There wasn't any words spoken. And for me, that was a real eye opener. It shocked me, but it doesn't shock me so much anymore. But what really shocked me is that two people were witnessing the same events, the exact same events. And I managed to verify this with my friend Dave, who was also present. And he drew a picture of from his point of view and what he saw. And that was probably what terrified me the most, is because he's not the best artist, but he definitely managed to capture the scene and what was going on. So it was really, really quite remarkable, and it shocked me for many years. But I'm getting better from it now. I'm getting better. So.
What was contact like with you, James, for the first time?
Oh yeah. Well, as a kid, we were raised in the high desert in a place called Apple Valley, California, and we used to sleep outside at night because it was really hot. So we just throw a sleeping bag down on the grass outside, and I would see them all the time. I would see them flipping back and forth and doing all kinds of crazy things. We got these little no-see-ums here, these little bugs. So if you see me swatting, it's getting them out of my face. But and then at 5 years old, I had I was dying in the hospital, and Mary appeared to me and pulled me out of it. So I've always been in total support of the divine feminine ever since, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. And it just went on and on. It just never stopped. As a kid, we would have the masters would be appearing, the benevolent, mostly the Pleiadians were coming in and hanging out and kind of watching over us. And then we had some other ones. We had some grays try to mess with us. But as soon as they did, we'd call on the other ones and it would end. They'd put an end to it. But there's, having all kinds of things. One thing I always felt sad, it was like what I went through, I didn't have any teacher. I didn't have any master. I had nobody to talk to. And I think that's so sad when you're a kid. You're seeing all these things. People come to the ranch, these kids come to the ranch and they see the orbs and the light spheres and the nature, beings. And they, some even see Bigfoot walking around and it's crazy. And then you see all the light ships and everything else. And there they have somebody they can talk to and validate their experience. But unfortunately, as a kid, you get totally invalidated now. It's getting better. And, you put in the weird category, you get severed from the herd and pretty soon you're like Crazy James or whatever your name is, you're the weird kid, they, even in Trout Lake, they're calling me Cosmic James as a joke, like a demeaning thing, but I see it as a badge. Okay, I'll be Cosmic James. I'm fine. You want to insult me, call me normal, basically.
Right.
But anyway, it's just all of my life I've been having contacts, and the real strong ones were happening when I moved to the ranch and started the ranch, and that was in the mid 80s. And I was meditating, and I already had 2 near-death experiences, and I was meditating, and I was getting this beautiful message coming in, and it was from a Palladian, and she was just talking. It was just such a beautiful message about what humanity needs to do in the earth to clean up the planet and clean up the consciousness and things like that. And so I asked, it was a female, and I asked her, where are you coming from? What? And she said, actually, I'm coming from the 7th, but there's others here in the 5th. And she said, and they're coming from a ship. And I go, oh yeah, okay, right. I've lost it. I'm losing it. I need to go out and get grounded and plant some trees. And before I got outside, my sister and a couple of friends were running up, banging on the door. And there's this massive light ship just hovering over the house. So that was my first real contact, where I had to integrate my spiritual self-mastery things I was working on with the higher, benevolent, spiritual, and technologically advanced off-worlders, which are replete throughout history. If you really get into archaeology, or you get even in the Bible, the sons of Arcturus, the sweet energies of the Pleiades, Ezekiel's wheel within a wheel, the the clouds that were a fire by night that went across the Red Sea and parted it. It's like Elijah ascending into a chariot, on a fiery chariot. It's all throughout our, the frescoes, everything. It's all there. But unfortunately, people just go to church and they listen to what their minister has to say, and it's a controlled narrative, and so I was the guy who would be asking all those questions. And everybody get pissed and upset, like, stop it. It's like, there's an external God and you pray to it, and we're the go-betweens and you pay us, So I was saying, well, I kind of thought Jesus said, God was in everybody and everybody's welcome in heaven. It's like, I didn't understand their program until later. I figured it out. But anyway, and that is the problem. All the masters are united, and they're united around universal law, and every culture has their religion, and they all have the same basic principles in their religion. They're golden threads that connect everybody together, and then you have the kings and leaders who added their edits and changed things. And, every war we've been in is because one king or leader wanted what another king or leader had. And that's what it all boils down to. And then they got the religions to get involved and demonize the others. And so basically, people really don't go to war. You need governments to go to war. And other than that, we'd probably get along fine. But it's, I just started seeing the big picture. And to be honest now, what I'm seeing is that, and this is going to sound like conspiratorial, but I'm seeing that everything is a controlled narrative. All of it is. It doesn't matter your spiritual community, your UFO, UAP community, all your agencies, your governments, your leaders, the whole thing is a controlled narrative. And that whole controlled narrative is collapsing. It's collapsing in on itself right now. And there are higher forces that are doing that. They're responsible for that. So it's just a short amount of time before we're going through what they call the Great Awakening, the Great Reveal, whatever you want to call it. It's coming on high. It's coming from the very source itself and coming down through the dimensions with very advanced, just both ascended masters, angelic beings, benevolent, spiritual, and technologically advanced off-worlders. It's all aligned, and it's coming in now to help and clean up the low-level stuff that's been going on for 450,000 years, basically. So we're finally going to be free from the old draconian law, and the draconian empire is finally collapsing in on itself.
Definitely needs to be some changes. You're right about that. It's
Yeah.
just gotten to a point. I don't see how we can continue the way that we can. And like you said, this is in every community. This is infiltrated far and wide. And I'm sure that it's not just in the United States. Obviously, these people are elsewhere, but they are
Yeah.
infiltrated in this community, big time infiltrated in this community.
What's even in the banking industry, it's in the business institutions, everything, you know, the top CEOs, you know, they're all playing around, you know, with some other beings they shouldn't be, so put it that way. You know, it's like, you know, Jesus talked about it, not to be a Bible thumper, but when they brought out the Ethiopian Bible, and now there's a guy named Chris Molter, I think his name is, and he just found out the writings of Jesus, found 9 parchments that Jesus wrote in his own words, where he talks about working with the Arcturians. In the Bible, they call them the sons of Arcturus. And he said, I'm half human, you know, which I've said since 1980 that he was genetically upgraded because his soul force was too powerful to actually inhabit a regular body. And I gave all the details of that. Well, that's finally been vindicated. And there's a lot of stuff out there. The Ethiopian Bible just totally destroys the old controlled narrative, because it talks about all the women and the women's teachings and bringing those forward. And Mary was his closest disciple, you know, and Jesus said, out of all my disciples, Mary is the most qualified to continue with my teachings. Well, what happened? You know, the patriarchal side took over and pretty much kicked her out. But the that's coming back really strong. But the it's part of that great reveal right now. It's everything is being released, and the lies and the deception and the other stuff is all being revealed. And we're going to go through a massive transition right now, and people need to let go of the old social engineering, you know, and the controlled narratives and everything they've had stuffed down since they're a little kid, and realize there's much more to the story, and the universe is much bigger than we can even imagine. It's a multiverse, it's multidimensional, and we're about ready to rejoin the rest of the universe. A lot of us are. There's some that won't, you know, some will just hang on to their old paradigm, you know, because of fear and because of the social conditioning. But anyway, most people on Earth have kind of figured things out, that things just aren't right, and we need to go in a different direction.
We definitely need to go in a different direction. There's no doubt about that. And, you know, as sad, I used to probably feel a little bit more sorry they were maybe not make it with the rest of the people, but I think they need time to think about what they have done. And I think they have lessons to learn that we cannot, you know, it's like sometimes in some of these cases, I feel like they are a threat to your freedom, not the other way around. And when that being said, you're just gonna have to stay here, because
a lot of the debunkers, you know, I've run into all of them and dealt with all of them, and it's pretty embarrassing for them, basically. But
especially the truth seekers.
Yeah, even a lot of
the truth seekers yet.
Yeah, a lot of physicists, and you know, they have all these physicists come forward, and they're the experts in the field, and they go to some college and get a degree that actually says UFOs aren't real. They know nothing about UFOs. They don't know who's on the ships. They don't know their cultures or their technology. They know nothing about that. And actually, they've been taught that they're not real, but they're the experts. I don't understand. They haven't seen a ship. They don't know who's on the ships. They know nothing about their cultures, but they're the experts. And everybody gives their power away, and they say this name, and everybody goes, "Oh, he said this," you know, and I go, but there's no foundation, you know, he has no foundation, no training, no understanding. All he has is our recycled ignorance we call science to go by. And he's packaging everything into that little box. So we need to get away from that and really start talking to the experiencers and the people that have had contact, that know who they are, why they're here, things like that. That's where you want to go to get your information. Forget about, you know, the lamestream media or officialdom. You know, it's, you know, like Congress, you know, is having these hearings. It's a limited hangout again. And I've sent them information. I sent them the self-mastery ambassador training course, and it says who's who in the universe, and it covers the benevolent ones down to the nasty ones, and all that information. They have all that, and I'm still, I think it's Anna Patricia Luna, and there's a couple, Burchett, some of these other guys are asking the questions like, well, are there benevolent ones? Are there spiritually and technologically advanced benevolent ones? And they go, we have to go into a skiff. We can't talk about that. And they all avoid it. They all avoid it. They will not talk about that. And a lot of it's because these guys operate under universal law, which is universal peace, brother, sisterly love, individual freedom, and prosperity for all. And they have free energy. They have med technologies. They have, they're a threat. They're according to the CIA, UFOs are the highest threat status, basically on the planet. And it's mainly because we'd all be free, we'd all be abundant, we'd all be healthy, there'd be no more dependencies, everybody would be sovereign, self-sufficient, could do what they want to do versus become enslaved to the system. And that's basically why we don't have contact.
Yeah, I agree with you, really. I think that the nasty ones are very much in control of the infrastructure in this world, and to release any information about the benevolent ones would absolutely collapse that control structure overnight. And I think what we're seeing now with this disclosure is we're seeing a very controlled narrative being released, drip-fed, in a way where they want us to know that these beings are real, but they don't want us to know the full extent of it, like you've alluded to.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always tell people disclosure is going to come from the skies. It's, after 70 years, at what point do you say there might be something wrong with disclosure? All we have is a fuzzy tic tac. But all these other people are having these exquisite experiences, being healed, being taught about the multiverse, all these incredible experiences are happening, but they don't want to talk about that. We can't talk about that. So it's just, how long are you going to do that? It's like their game's up. They've been doing it for 70 years. It's time for a new story. It's time to find a little, up their game as far as their morality and their integrity, and start doing what's right for the planet and the people, basically. And that's all being activated right now. The souls are being activated. The star nations that have incarnated are being activated. Everything's being activated right now. They can't stop this. They're trying. They're doing everything they can, but they can't stop what's coming. And people are just going to get that aha moment and start looking around them and go, what the heck am I doing? I didn't come here for this, and they're going to start shifting their energies and assets in a different direction.
They need to redirect their focuses onto something else. But the problem is you wonder how much of this is agenda, because I think what the government plans on disclosing is far different from all the insiders that I get. They're disclosing that this is a parasite.
Yeah. Well, J.D. Vance just came out and said, UFOs are real, but they're all demons. And come on, I mean, to me, I'm going, I was really hoping our leaders might be a little more enlightened than that, that they would know that where there's a positive, there's a negative, there's always balance. It's scary. There's two things that are scary. One, they're either not telling the truth, or two, they're totally out of the loop about what's going on. And I'm not trying to be disparaging to J.D. Vance or whatever. He might be a solid guy.
There's a lot of reality, and I think they all are to a certain extent. They don't live like I and the next door neighbor lives. They have that disconnect.
Yeah.
And they're listening to government intel. They should be listening to people like you or like Phil, our other experiencers. Like, they're listening to other intel from the government. That can't be good.
Yeah, that in the interest of national security,
Right.
we should be working with the benevolent ones, because there are malevolent ones out there, and they're pretty nasty, and their technology is way beyond ours. So luckily, the benevolent ones have been intervening and keeping these other ones from taking over the earth completely. And although they were very embedded in underground tunnels and dumbs and things like that, those are all being cleaned out right now. But if it wasn't for the benevolent ones, we'd all be human pilaf, basically. It's like,
well, there's a lot of people out there that could this be the least point of resistance. I happen to think, I mean, when you come in contact that there are beings that are outside of this realm and people that are here from outside of that represent that star system, obviously there's some reason we're here to do some cleanup or whatever needs to be done. This planet, take a look around you, is a disaster. I mean, it's utterly a disaster. The people that are operating in these so-called places of power are the last people that you want there. They're not aware of what's going on outside of this planet, and that is detrimental to everybody's existence altogether. This is a money-generating profit, It's not like, hey, the real reason we're here, but maybe that's why this human experience is here. I don't know. Just seems a little crazy to go through all of this. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, do you want to say something, Phil? Or?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think what you said, really, like, the whole thing seems like it's coming down. I've been sensing this over the last year or two. A lot of their old tricks aren't working anymore. A lot of the things that they would use to try and captivate people's attention and their awareness, they're failing them in time. And it's a real pleasure to see. And going back to what J.D. Vance was saying about the demons, I've had Christians coming at me with this, saying that, oh yeah, you're interacting with demons, you should repent to God. And I'm thinking, well, there's two sides to every coin. There's good and there's bad with everything. And me personally, I'm more interested in working with the good guys, because it just feels better. Everything about their message feels better. They preach love, they preach compassion, empathy, and whenever I try and interact with government organizations, I'm just not getting that sense. I don't feel the love from it. And every day I have a vision of what the world could be like. And, I feel like we're getting very close to that. And I just hope to see it in my lifetime, really. I really do. Because.
Yeah, I think we are. I think I've been seeing some things that between now and July, it's going to be insane. I mean, there's going to be so many changes happening so fast. And I know by 2030, all this other nonsense is going to be pretty much gone, because if they're not frequency specific to where the earth is going. I mean, she's ascending, and we have to match those frequencies and rise with the occasion. And if you want a scientific explanation of it, our whole solar system is moving into a highly energized place in space that we've never been before. And the sun is just slamming us over and over with, I mean, the Schumann resonance is whited out right now. And we're getting huge X-class flares and solar streams, sunspots hitting us. And then now you've got Cygnus, which I've been waiting for. I was telling people that we're going to get this blast from Cygnus. And that just happened. They have whole temples in Egypt that are aligned with Cygnus, and it's part of our evolution, basically. But it just hit us with a beam of light that was it totally accelerated the whole electromagnetic light spectrum, and everybody was feeling it. I think it was a couple of weeks ago when that hit. And then right along with it, we had a couple smashes from solar flares and CMEs and things right along with it. So the earth is so supercharged right now. There's so much pressure on the earth, and it's expanding, it's growing, and that expansion is going to create some chaos, so on every level, socially, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, everything, every level. You're going to see total craziness happening on the political arena. You're going to see people having meltdowns. A lot of people are having headaches and getting dizzy, and that's their body trying to adjust to the new energies. And then you got the other group dumping chemtrails on us to shut us down at the same time, and sticking everybody that I won't talk about because we'll get censored. But there's just two forces. It's like Star Wars. There's a light force and a dark force. It's that simple. And there are people that have aligned themselves with the dark force, and they're very self-serving, and most of them are narcissistic, and they're very socially and morally corrupt, and their integrity, challenged basically. And that group has been running the show for a long time, and everything is being amplified and accelerated, so their karma is coming home to roost, and everything they've done to experience basically power and security and love and joy and acceptance, they've taken the wrong path, and it's all collapsing, and they're realizing that they might have these giant castles and huge networks and everything else, but there's no love in their life, and there's no joy in their life, and they're owned by their castles basically, and all it takes to keep them up. But anyway, it's all imploding in on itself. It's like those that are on the downward spiral of evolution are those ones that are totally focused on greed basically, and outer appearances and external. That group is on a downward spiral, and the people that want to live a spiritual life in harmony with nature and each other are on the upward spiral, and they're shifting. They're moving further and further apart. And one totally collapses and the other one keeps going, So all the prophecies that talked about this, all the Native Americans, the Hopi rock, prophecy, all of them have talked about this experience. And we're in the middle of it right now. Even a lot of the biblical prophecies are all happening, like the over there in Jerusalem, there's a huge, that whole mountain splitting apart right now. And that was in the prophecies. They're having all these earthquakes and things like that. And I don't want to go too far into that, but that whole kingdom is coming down. It's I don't want to get the anti-Semitic label, but I love the Jewish people, and I love the people of the Middle East and everything else. But there's another group running the show that
the Zionist.
Yeah, and all they care about is sacrificing their calf, building their temple, so God will make them the chosen people to reign over all else. I mean, that's their whole program. They don't care about any other race or belief, or not even religious structure. They're a political structure. Exactly. And that group is falling, and they're collapsing in on themselves, and we're being lied to. The news, if you saw what was really going on over there, they're getting hammered. And so that, it has to, I guess it has to play out. It's sad. We could all choose universal peace in the next moment and get along great, and there'd be enough for everybody. But there's just old grudges and old wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experience, and it's so ingrained. It's even psychometrized into the land, which the ships have been. Actually, there's a Syrian ship that came right over the Dome of the Rock and altered completely the frequencies there of the entire area. You can see it. I have a video of it. And all the lands just lit up with this purple energy, which is transformational energy. It was hovering over it, and then it powered up and just gone, disappeared. And there was actually inside the Dome of the Rock, inside the temple there, there was a baby left in there, and nobody's talked about that. There was a child that was left. They have nobody has any idea where this child came from, and nobody knows where it is. And my intuition tells me it's a very advanced being that, and hopefully the good guys have it. Yeah. It's here for a reason, but.
Wow. That's crazy. So what do you think that I missed the part. What do you think that they were doing down here? You saw a Syrian ship, right? So you're saying, and it was on
what
there?
happens is, okay, there's some really old, in the ancient times, you have the little g gods, and those are the sacrificial gods. Okay, the New Testament totally says, okay, we're done with that. We're going to worship the all-loving, all-forgiving God that is within everyone and everything throughout all creation. So Yeshua dispelled that whole thing and said, okay, we're all going to, heaven's big enough for everybody. And all we got to do is act according to universal law, be kind to each other, be kind to the planet, and you're all getting in, So, and you probably won't have 70 virgins waiting for you, but which would probably be a nightmare. But
Right.
can you imagine having
No.
please 70? I don't know. Hey, that
sounds overwhelming even to say. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, they're still worshiping the little g gods of the past, the sacrificial, jealous, wrathful, genocidal gods. And those were the ancient Anunnaki, which had turf wars and split and started fighting. And that's kind of the origin of that is where that all came from. And so they told their people that their brother over here was a bad guy, and so we're going to go get rid of him. And they raised their armies and went over there, and then it's been going on since then. But the whole thing is the little g gods, that they're the sacrificial gods of the past, were the ancient Anunnaki, and there's some other groups that were here, and that's where that comes from. And some were benevolent, and some were really loving, and some were not. And if you get back to Enki and Enlil and those guys, and Anu, their father, and then Atlantis was actually part of that. But they were split. Enlil was a defeated warrior. He was a general, and he hated the Pleiadians and some of the other really benevolent groups. He did not like them, and a lot of us are incarnated from there. So that was a real problem. And then you had Enki, which was the scientist. He was doing a lot of genetic tampering, with humanity, raising them up. And he wanted to increase humanity to be all they can be, like to really give them everything. And then that got shut down. And it's kind of like the Adam and Eve story, basically, but on steroids, if you know the real story. But all of that stuff, there were humans that were evolving naturally on Earth, and the first humans to be tinkered with were the Denisovian man in Australia, and that's where all the gold mines, the original gold mines, were, where they're mining the gold. And then Egypt was next. So all the pharaohs and their breastplates and everything, the gold that the pharaohs had came from Australia. And that's all been documented. And if you go to Gosford Glyphs, it's all written in stone there. Over in Australia, the whole history of Earth, and the ships coming down and adding their DNA to humanity. And there's star glyphs and hieroglyphs, and the Egyptians came back and added to it. And it's all there. The whole story's there. They've tried to bomb it and destroy that area. But anyway, that just when I go back to controlled narrative, our archaeology is a controlled narrative, our history, our science, our religions, they're all controlled narratives. And now they're just getting destroyed because a lot of researchers are finding out, they're opening up in Turkey all these most ancient temples, and it's all there. It's all there. The whole history of Earth is there. And Göbekli Tepe and all the other stuff that they're digging up, they're finding out that, we didn't start 12,000 years ago after the Younger Dryas event. We were here way before that, and very advanced civilizations were here way before that. And so that's all being revealed. And with the Ethiopian Bible coming out and these other parchments that they're finding, the true teachings of Jesus, basically, that's destroying kind of like the religious narrative and the division game that's being played with all the churches. Basically, that totally destroys that. And it also empowers the female side, and it puts an end to the patriarchal and hierarchical system and brings God back into the individual. And we're also realizing that we have the DNA of the gods, the ancient ones, which is why a lot of the ETs were abducting us, so they were trying to get our DNA, but it's not active. Most of it's inactive, but it's being activated. It's because of the shift we're going through and what the sun's doing and everything else. And it can be activated spiritually too as well, but that's all being activated now. So that's what we're undergoing right now. The old controlled narrative on every level is collapsing in on itself. And the new, the truth is coming in. And it's outrageous. I mean, we are vast multidimensional beings existing on a vibrational continuum. We're just not these meat suits and these personalities. And that's all coming out. But the thing about it is, when you become enlightened or you're awake, you can't be controlled anymore. And that's the threat. When you get outside the narrative, you're a threat, to the controllers and the enslavers. But they're a threat to themselves because their game is over and their karma is coming home to roost. And it's basically action, reaction, whatever you want to call it. And all the masks are coming down and the curtains being pulled back. And that whole world it has to collapse for the new one to take its place, basically.
Definitely in a death spiral as we speak, and I think that's probably its most dangerous time because that's when it's going to lash out the most. I hear a lot about sort of human evolution, and I wonder what it might look like. But it's so hard to try and create a distinction and what human evolution looks like. But I have visions of things like teleporting, being able to see people's thoughts, or almost shifting reality with your being, but I just wonder. I mean, I live in England and we've got the royal family. I would say that they're probably the worst when it comes to perpetuating this old control system and keeping it alive today. And I definitely think that in the UK we're seeing that come to an end. Faith in the royal family. No one's really interested in politics anymore or anything that the government has to say. They tried to create a meningitis pandemic here a couple months ago, but everybody just ignored it and it just went away overnight. Like no one was buying it, So, it's really great to see that. And I'm really excited over the next couple of months to see how that transpires,
Yeah, definitely. They are folding, they're being exposed for everything, and they're collapsing in on themselves, and the queen's gone basically. And her whole program is, I think the white hats are stepping in and have control over that whole system, but you're going to see that influence, and it's all around the world. All their bases are shutting down. Americans are pulling out of all those bases, which were tied to the queen, basically. And it's all collapsing. I would say between the queen and the Vatican, those are the major heads of the dragon, and there's good dragons too. They're not all bad dragons, but I know people that are directly related to the queen. And I can't mention their names, but they're on the good side.
Good.
And they're actually German. She's actually German. People don't know that. Most people don't know that. And they're brilliant, and their whole life has been dedicated to science and healing and awakening of humanity and things like that. So there's some really good folks in there. And I think there's a lot of stuff. There's some crazy stuff coming out with the Templars that are exposing everything now too, the real truth and things like that. But when they were saying that they were NASA, we control NASA. We named all the events and everything else. And I said, well, if you guys are on the level, you might want to clean NASA up because that's a big fraud they're perpetuating on the people. you know, all the CGI and all the other stuff they're doing. And if you read the NASA papers, it's pretty nasty, you know, what they have planned for humanity. So that there needs to be a major cleanup there. But
well, who thinks it's good to try? I mean, you have the Nazi scientists from Operation Paperclip. That's all who designed NASA. Werner von Braun and his,
yeah.
so, you know, they just don't stop hating because a new generation kicks in here. It definitely needs to be cleaned up.
Well, you know, the thing is, we have anti-gravity, we have counter-gravity. We've had that. The Germans had it in the 30s, and we've had it since the late 60s. We could go back and forth to the moon and Mars very easily with this technology. And we have our own space fleet. You know, we have all that stuff, like unimaginable. You know, we already have med beds and replicators, and we have teleporters, all that stuff. We have all that stuff. It's just not available to the public. But when that, you know, what you're talking about, your visions, I mean, it is going to be made available to the public. And the white hats, you know, I think they have control over most of that stuff now. So it is shifting. And, you know, we could take a quantum leap. That's what the Palladians keep saying. They said, you know, we're giving you the opportunity to take a quantum leap in evolution and put an end to the wars, disease, poverty, everything, and live according to universal law. And everybody's going to flourish and be abundant. And you know, longevity is going to kick in and all that stuff. And it's all here now. It's on the planet. And what has to happen is that I mean, everybody has a different name for them, you know, the global elite, the globalist eugenicists, all those guys have to collapse, and they are. You know, they're being exposed for everything they're doing. You know, Hollywood's collapsing totally. You know, that's just part of the social engineering. You know, the news is collapsing. Nobody's listening to that anymore. I mean, there's podcasters that have 10 times the rating of CNN, you know, out there. And things like that's all collapsing in on itself. And I just think, you know, the truth stands on its own merit, and it's going to come out, and it's going to be energized, and it's going to come out everywhere, along with all the real science, not the recycled ignorance they're teaching in schools, and the real history. All that's going to come out. And the old paradigm just cannot stand under that anymore. It's collapsing under its own weight, and it's pretty much done. It's in free fall. And I heard some things from some white hat friends. I heard some things that happened recently, and I couldn't really verify it, but I'm pretty sure a lot of major arrests just happened. I mean, in the news, Obama was one of them, but you know, everybody goes, "Oh, I love Obama," and I said, "Yeah, you know how many billions he gave to Iran?
Oh God,
you know, as part of the." And he funded, you know, the very people we've been fighting against for God knows how long, and how much gold was taken, but it's been repatriated now back into our system. But people have no idea. I mean, it's all coming out now, but they did get all the computers, and they have all the information in Iran, where the money came from, who did it. You know, people are going to be shocked because, you know,
they'll play shocked, but can they really be shocked? Yeah. I mean, I just know that we've known so much of this stuff has been going on. Yeah.
When you find out who is funding Hamas, they're going to freak out. And it's all part of a program, which isn't going to happen. But it's all one group trying to expand its borders and become greater. I won't mention their name, but we all know that. And we've been its brute squad, and people are done with that. 70% of the people are done with the wars and the nonsense. And you get in, you know, the truth of the matter is the Palestinians have more genetic connection to that land than anybody. You know, a lot of Europeans came there, and they created a little space, and they came from the Ukraine, and they came from Poland, and they came from, you know, all these other places, and they're not who you think they are. But anyway, that's all being revealed. But it's interesting. I just hope we don't are not so stupid as to start throwing nukes at each other. We're building up to that event, and I really don't think the ETs are going to allow it. I don't.
I
They're
can't
not
see them allowing it. I
Yeah.
can't see them allowing it either. Like you said, people wouldn't generally fight. People don't naturally fight each other. And look at how much funding it's taken through Hamas, Iran, just to create that destabilization effort so that people will fight each other. And I have done work for the military-industrial complex in the past, before I knew what I was doing. And they've got unlimited budgets, and they were quite happy to send me around the world, paid for to do things. And at the end of the day, there's no expense spared on this. And if that's the sort of public level that I was privy to be into, what's going on behind the scenes, like you say, where most of the public doesn't get to know. And if you do, killed or dead or something like that. So humans don't naturally want to fight each other. And I'm shocked that it's gone so long in this state where people are fighting each other and peace hasn't prevailed. But I guess, like you said, the truth doesn't really need defending at the end of the day. It works on its own merit, and it's only a matter of time. It's just really interesting.
Yeah, you get back to the basics. People get, I had a friend of mine tell me, he goes, you need to be a good citizen or something like that. I can't remember what he was saying. It's like, I'm trying to be a good citizen. I'm paying for this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I said, have you really looked at what you're paying for? And I said, like, how can you be a good citizen? I don't want to pay for genocide. I don't want to pay for gender mutilation. I don't want to pay for any of this crap. I don't want to give millions and millions to all these LGBTQ, A, B, C, D, F, G organizations.
Right.
It's like, teach his own, but why should I fund it? Nobody's funding me, It's like, so anyway, I'm doing more service to humanity and the earth. Where's my paycheck? I'm not getting.
Imagine if the government did fund that, rather than funding LGBT, HDMI, whatever, Imagine if they gave someone like you funding to do your work. The world would become a remarkable place.
Yeah, I mean, you too are like, what if they said, hey, we're going to create a real disclosure system, and we're going to give them the contactees, we're going to give them the equipment. We have equipment that can see into the fifth dimension and film and photograph it and everything. We have all that equipment. We use some of it. We're 40. We can get into 40, but we don't have the funding for the 5D stuff. The military has all that. And they have cameras where you can look through the camera and you'll see ships everywhere. And then you put it down, they're not there. They use a special lens for that. And they have all that technology. They know what's going on. But I think it'd be good to get like where they live, get everybody some glasses with those special glasses. They're going to put them on. They go, oh my God, they're everywhere. The ships are everywhere. But anyway, it's amazing. Yeah, I was talking about that. I said, we had a $200 Sony camcorder, and we totally outgunned NASA, 100%. We had landings, we had ships, every size, shape, and color ships, all filmed on this little $200 Sony camcorder with night vision, basically. And so I put out the NASA challenge. I said, okay, look, we'll put our footage out, and you put all your footage out, and whoever wins keeps the funding. But the kicker is that all of the footage has to be public access, and whoever has the best footage of off-world beings and UFOs and things like that, they get the funding. And didn't hear a peep, and from them and anything else. But I have had them. They have come to the ranch. All the agencies have been to the ranch. The military base commanders have been to the ranch. Triple PhD Boeing engineers, and they've all seen the ships, and they know what's happening, but they can't talk about it. And so they know this is all going on, and they're frustrated. You know, they're frustrated with it all. They don't want to be a part of it anymore. And I think as the energy keeps coming in, you're going to see so many whistleblowers come forward, and so many high-level people are going to be involved with that. And, you know, we've got all those missing scientists right now. Isn't there 10 of them?
Yeah.
Right. That went missing. And
it was because of the free energy devices, no?
Yeah, hopefully they got picked up by the good guys, but I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. I didn't want to get into that because some of them may be sequestered somewhere else, and I'm not so positive.
That's what I thought too. I looked through the list of them. There's 11 right now, and I didn't recognize one name, which I thought
they're all like government stuff. I mean, they're all working on top secret, things, but they do have a system in place when things start getting weird that they are going to bag all these guys and put them in a secure place, which could have happened. I don't know, or they just shut them up. One or the other. But I know a lot of them were getting ready to blow the whistle on everything. So
I suppose it's the compartmentalization that does that. And I think that the more these energetic changes occur, I think compartmentalization can't work anymore, because it starts in the mind, that sort of, compartmentalization. How much do you need to know? And you're on a need to know basis.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of people are building these little widgets. They don't even know what they are, but without that widget, that massive bunker buster bomb couldn't have been dropped, or something that just wiped out, genocided a whole bunch of people, but they have no idea. They're okay. You just need to create this widget, and they've got all these widgets, and only a few people at the top know what the widgets, when they all come together, are going to create. And we take all of our best minds and we bag them and start making weapons with them. And what if we took our best minds and directed them towards the awakening and healing of humanity, the earth, the betterment of the planet, the solving, war, disease, and all the other stuff, poverty, it would be cleaned up in a moment. But problem is if the program of the controllers to keep them sick, poor, and stupid. That's their motto. And that's why we have a lot of sick, poor, and stupid people on the planet, unfortunately. And it's been working, but they're figuring it out. People are figuring it out and going, wait a second, and when all the ships appear, they're going to go, oh my God, they've been lying to us. So what else have they lied to us about? And it's not stoppable. I mean, it doesn't matter. I always tell people I'm just a messenger. Getting rid of me isn't going to do a damn thing. This is all going to happen. A lot of it's already happened, but it's going to get really interesting. I mean, all the masks are coming down, all the veils are coming down, the curtains being open wide. And I see that really in the next few months, by the end of July, it's going to be really clear what's what, and then it's going to take a period to reassimilate and change everything. But I really do think all these beings that are coming in right now, that they're adding their higher consciousness into the collective consciousness of Earth, and they're all focused on universal law. And so that's going to anchor in on the Earth eventually. And as well as this old other realm is just going to go. It's not frequency specific to the evolution of Earth right now, or the ascension process. So it's like it's like slapping God in the face, and thinking you're going to get away with it. You know what I mean? It's just like
I'm not another one who did it. Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. And there is a God. I've experienced, when I went to the seventh dimension in my second near-death experience, there is this golden white plane of bliss. It's just pure consciousness and energy. And you're a light being when you're in it. You're unique, yet you're one at the same time. And you're having a communication and an exchange of consciousness and energy when you're there. And it's beyond all the images, that we have of it. You know, everybody has a name and an image, and it's usually a bearded guy, you know, and there's no female energy there, you know, supposedly. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's the image we're playing with. But, you know, even Yahweh had a mate. People aren't told that, you know, Yahweh had a mate, you know, like all of the masters have their counterpart, basically. And it's always been balanced, you know, but now we're in a patriarchal, hierarchical system that's out of balance, that doesn't empower the individual, and it doesn't serve the people anymore. And that whole thing is collapsing.
You're right.
I hope
It
so.
doesn't serve people. I hope so too. And what can you do? I sat so long and said, you know what, we can do all this to prevent a collapse, but once it got past a certain point, that point of no return, you have to let the system collapse.
I mean, I used to be, I used to try to save everybody, and I wanted to help everybody. And I don't hate the Illuminati or these guys anymore. I'm just trying to explain how universal law works to them, and saying, don't hurt yourself. You know, might want to redirect your energies towards the awakening healing process. And if you're seeking love and acceptance and approval through the masses, you know, the real love and acceptance and approval you're seeking comes from within. And being kind to people, that's when you're going to get their praise, you know. And so, you know, I've always said, you know, but now, you know, I was trying to kind of avoid the collapse, you know, and things like that. But now it's like the snowball's already gone over the hill. And now I just want to push it. just let it go, you know, let it go.
Let's get it done and over with. I know. Let's rip that Band-Aid off. Like, enough is enough. We can try.
Let's redirect our energies towards heaven on earth, you know, creating something better. You know, forget about that game. That game's collapsing in on itself.
Do you think that we've been farmed? Our energy's been farmed for the longest time by certain beings, shall we say?
Yeah, there are beings that are feeding off of our energies and creating a lot of the pain and suffering and separation. And you know, their kryptonite is unity. You know, when the people say, hey, I'm not going to divide anymore. I'm going to go meet my neighbor. I'm going to go travel and meet these other people. You know, I'm going to, and that just destroys their program. But there is, it's coming out now in the Ethiopian Bible that they call it the demiurge. And the demiurge is the shadow god, the negative side. And aligned with the demiurge are its minions, which are the archons, you know, which are influencing people. They feed off of all the pain, suffering, and negativity and division. And they're influencing people to do what they're doing. And there's actually, you know, negative ETs attached to that too, like reptilians and some tall grays, and other ones are attached to that. There's a consortium of that too. And that's one group. And on the positive side, of the lighter side of things, we've got, you know, on the earth, we have the white hats, we have Space Force, we have the Federation of Worlds, or the Galactic Federation. Everybody has different names for it. And that goes up to the councils, like the Andromedan Council is one of the highest. And then you have Arcturian councils and Pleiadian councils. The Orion Council of Light went through all the wars in Orion, so they understand the negative and how it works and everything. And they're planetary liberators. They're coming in right now. The Syrian Council, some of those are feline beings. They're humanoid feline beings that are coming in. And they're all coming in right now. And you know, the light side is where the real power is, and the real technology, whatever you want to call it, is on the light side. So because the frequency of the darker side, they can't get that they can't get that information. They can't, you know, a lot of people go, when the government says there are no UFOs, you know, and we don't have any information, most of them are right, you know, because they don't have the information. They weren't granted access to the higher. You got to have a high level of morality and integrity and be spiritually connected. You know, you have to rise the occasion, and then you're going to have access to these higher realms, and they haven't. And so they don't have access. They don't have the experience. And so a lot of them aren't lying to you. They just never rose to the occasion, or they've been compartmentalized. Like you've said, they don't, but, you know, a lot of them know they exist, but they contact them. You know,
I almost find it's a frequency issue. Like,
exactly.
I almost find it's a frequency issue. A lot of these new technologies require love, and you know, how can you be at war with someone if you've got to love to use the technology? Almost, it doesn't make sense. They're diametrically opposed.
Exactly.
And that's what I've always been told is our biggest protection, is that they're trying to create technologies out of these things, but they'll never really do it. At the end of the day, it will always be in an external device.
Exactly. Yeah.
And even then, they're struggling. You know.
Well, can you imagine a ship? You know, you find this ship and you go, okay, I got this ship. This ship, we're going to power this ship up, and it's going to go from a physical reality into light and into the higher realms, right? And so you just had a near-death experience when you fired this ship up. And how are you going to work for these other guys after that? You know, you can't. You can't, because you know, you're on a whole different frequency, and you're connected to these higher realms, and you're gonna go, whoa, this isn't right. This isn't happening for me. I didn't come here to lie, deceive, control. That's not my program, and all the reasons why don't fit anymore. You know, we're not part of that. And so that's the thing, is they can't get they can never get into the higher technology, you know, unless they have the moral and integrity levels necessary. And I mean, they do have some pretty crazy technology, but you know, once you really, you know, when you stand in front of a Palladian or one of these other beings, the love coming from them, their frequency is going to push everything up. You know, all your old wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions, all the fear, guilt, and unworthiness that's been socially engineered into you throughout the religions, everything is going to come up. And if you surrender to it, it'll just come up and you're done. You know, it's gone. And so, you know, people that are functioning on those lower levels, you know, they aren't going to have a contact. If they do, it's going to be really traumatic and life-changing for them, and they're going to change their ways. And I was talking earlier about this. When you reach a certain frequency, you become an amplifier and a mirror, and you amplify back to people everything they love and don't love about themselves, you know, their wounds, traumas, wrong. And a lot of people just go into projection versus going, oh God, I'm feeling this, and release it. You know, here you have an opportunity. You can heal and release this, or you can project and blame and stay in your comfort zone. And unfortunately, a lot of humanity is not using that opportunity to heal. They just project all their stuff. And we see it at ECETI all the time. The energy is so high at ECETI. People come on the land and their stuff comes up, and we're really clear with them. Look, if you want to heal this, we're here. You know, if you want to project and blame and create division or do these other games, then you have to go. You know, it's not.
No accountability. Do you make them take accountability?
Yeah, they have to take
accountability. Oh God.
And I see people come on the ranch and within an hour, sometimes it takes an hour, sometimes it takes 3 days or whatever. Their shit's up. I mean, everything's coming up. And they come on the ranch, they go, I love this place. I feel the love, I feel the joy, and I'm home and everything else. I go, wait about 3 days and get back to me. And then they're in their stuff. And it doesn't really, people go, I'm really freaking out right now. And I go, good. And they go, what do you mean good? You know, and they're crying and everything. Good. You know, a tear's worth 1,000 years of karma, you know, let it go. And I said, just surrender to the God within you, you know, just, you know, make your own personal connection to Creator, and the rest is going to get cleared out. You know, basically do your time doing that. And they usually get through it. And some will go so far, and then they can't get past their projection, and then they turn on you, you know, and they have to make you the evil person, which I've seen a lot of that in the UFO community. I've never seen so much vicious gossip and rumors and unfounded, unmerited stuff. It's really sad.
Isn't it insane?
Yeah.
It's insane.
And a lot of it's just because of jealousy, you know, and it's projections. It's either jealousy, they're very competitive, and there are some people in there that are just morally and integrity corrupt. Basically, they have such a sense of entitlement. I don't even think they know what they're doing is wrong. I really don't.
I don't know either. I got an email from one of them. I mean, in the middle of it, like I was almost, fake. I filed fake copyright, and I was like, you know what? People investigate those. If that was fake, then, and they ended up with the nice C word. And I thought, you know what? You listen here. I said I had a few bleeps for them,
Yeah.
but I said, why don't you step up and act like a man and do the work on it? If you think that I filed a claim against you, then file one back. What is all this about? You got to gather the local village idiots and send it. I mean, that's how bad it gets with these people.
Oh no, yeah, they gather their followers, really when they're being exposed, because you're mirroring back to them their lack of authenticity, and so they've got to take you down, and so they got to get all their little minions to come after you, and they start spreading vicious gossip rumors, and then you go to one of these conferences and you got all these little minions coming after you, and what I've seen is some very, very large angry women that don't like men coming after you, and you go, who are you? I don't even know who you are, and I know, and you just go, what are you talking about? And then well, I heard this, and I go, that never happened. That couldn't have happened, and you try to explain to them and they don't get it. And what I've seen recently is there's a couple of people that we are going to create an ECETI Hawaii here. And it went in that direction. It went into, we're going to, take over the land and the money and everything. And we're going to demonize James and to validate what we did. And it's unbelievable. And they actually think they're in the right. They think they're noble, virtue, high moral, high integrity people. And I said, let's get back to the basics of what happened here.
They do think that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, we totally rescued you from 2 evictions, and now we're the assholes. We're the bad people. Come on, let's look at the facts here about what this wasn't a 5D manifestation. We signed the check to create ECETI Hawaii. That's why the check was signed. You can't get away from that. And it's really sad, but these people, it's just unbelievable. I can't even believe somebody would be capable of doing that. To me, that's outside of my spectrum. But like a lot of Palladians, they can't believe people would steal or harm or trash another. It's not part of their reality. Well, the Orion side of me from the Orion Council of Light knows these people and knows who they're working with and what they're in. So I have 2 sides. So part of me is going, I can't believe they went that direction. And the other side of me goes, well, they're not on the right side of the fence. And
I think that makes a lot of sense, especially with group is there right now. And I'm sure there is a lot of jealousy. They probably want that ranch for themselves. This is what I look at it. They're going to do anything.
They had the opportunity to hook into a pretty massive network, and we did promote it all. We promoted all their stuff and everything. They could have been a part of something incredible, but they chose their own selfish gain. They chose isolation. They chose to demonize. That's the path they chose. And it's sad, but, and I heard some of these rumors and the people that were living here at the time, I have 2 caretakers that help here, and they have to, because it's a coffee farm and everything else, but they were here the whole time and they go, what are they talking about? None of that. If anybody would know, we would know. They go, none of that ever happened. I said, well, take that experience and multiply that times about 50, and knowing that there's a lot of people with, they're very jealous, they're very competitive, and out there in the UFO community, and that's what you have right now. You have the morally and integrity corrupt, and then you have the shills, the posers, and the planned opposition, And then you have the big boys financing it, which are, I hate to say it, but a bunch of satanic Luciferians. And that's where it's gone. And so the people that are authentic, that are really having experiences, that are focused on helping us shift to the next level and ascend, those people are not welcome, you know. And you have people saying all the right things, but if you look at their life off stage, they're opposite. I mean, it goes down to some very decadent behavior, you know, beyond your imagination. Some of the top people in the field of ufology are doing things behind the scenes that you would just go, oh my God. You know?
Oh, yeah, they are. Oh, they sure are. Oh. Man, oh man, oh man. I see and I cringe too. And I tell people this is why there's certain conferences I will not attend. If you don't think this stuff goes on, it does so very much go on. It's deeply rooted.
I call them reptilian F fests, you know.
I call them UFO
That's where they all come to feed. Yeah. You know, and before I used to go to these and I would clear the energy and make sure they were going in a positive direction and things like that. And now I'm no longer invited, and I've seen what they put together there and the energies, the levels of it. And it's not good. It's definitely not empowering the individual. And there's a lot of feeding going on there and other stuff. And it's sad, you know, like, you know, a perfect example. I mean, you were part of that too, where at the International UFO Congress, where you can't even get my lecture there anymore. I was never there. And it was, and other ones have done that too. I've been wiped off the, you know, and you know, we have those pictures where I actually morphed on stage, turned into a light being.
Let me pull those up
really and things quick. Like that. There's other golden beings standing behind me, and that seemed to get edited out, and now you can't.
Let me get at the pictures. Let me see here. Let's see. I'm going to pull up the right one eventually. Oh, can you hear me, James? Are you able to hear me? I think oh, he's muted. I'm trying to. Are any of these the right ones, James? I can't. I don't think I see it. That one's from Peter. Your mute's mic, James. I don't know if you can. If any of these are right. I don't see it though. Let me pull those off. Are you able to? You're muted. You're muted, James. I'm trying to unmute him. Or can you hear me, Phil?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, James, somehow your mic was muted.
How about now?
Yeah, no, now I can hear you. Were any, because I didn't see him. I was trying to look for the
one. It's that green one. You know, the green picture. You may not have loaded it. Well, this one here. Let's just go through what you have. How's that?
Sure.
And I'll talk about it when you do them. So we'll start with this one. This was in Hawaii here just a couple months ago. We did a little mini conference with Peter Slattery, and I'll show other pictures of it. We had all these ships come. That's where I'm phasing out. You can see half my body on the right side phasing out, and we had all kinds of stuff happening. Let's pop over to the next one. And this is actually Kuan Yin, and this is at ECETI Ranch. And Peter was staying with me there, and she actually full on manifested in his bedroom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's her. And you can see her hand is where she holds the vessel. You can't see that it's a light vessel that she pours to enlighten people. And let's go to the next one. And that's Mary. Mary's been with me ever since 5 years old. She saved my life. And when I was dying in the hospital at 5 years old. And so we've always worked very closely with the divine feminine. And I've always been pushing to get to end this old patriarchal program, even religions, and bring out the divine feminine, bring balance, you know. Go ahead and go to the next one.
Wow.
This is doing Qigong, and I was showing people how you can actually film the energies when you're working with Qigong. And this is, you know, calling on the heavens. Basically, it's a pose that I'm doing. I'm using magnetic hand, and you can actually see the energies. We have a lot more photos of this on the website.
Oh yeah, I can. Wow.
Pop to the next one. Okay, this was taken at one of the conferences where they asked me to call on the higher beings, and took a photograph of my aura. And it went from like a purplish, pinkish to you can see the bright gold energy coming in. And the kind of silver energy in the middle is the Amitabha. It's the cosmic Buddha energy, which I just merged with. I connected with them right before this picture, which was interesting. About a month before, I was connecting with that at ECETI. Let's go to the next one.
And then after that one, I have videos. Do you want to play the video?
Yeah, show the video. This was at the...
Yeah, look at that.
I got the one. Where's the other one? Am I seeing a different one?
No, you might be, because I'm on 2 here.
There's one going to Orion. Where's the other 2? Oh, yeah, I see him.
Yeah, one's still powered up. Oh, there's another one moving around it, man. That's the one that you were on, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. How crazy is that? Yeah, look at that.
I got the one. Where's the...
You hear Pete in the background. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. And I got this one.
Flash. Thank you. Thank you.
That's amazing. Oh, you're muted again, James. He's never had this problem before. I wonder.
How's that?
No, yeah, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, we tell them when and where the ships are going to appear. It shows there's a telepathic contact. We've proven it redundantly. And what was that actor? I'm forgetting his name that was there that you were talking about.
Danny Dyer.
Danny Dyer, yeah. Danny Dyer did a special. And he goes, after he left, he goes, I'm on UFO overload. You know, I can't. There's so many UFOs. And he did one of the classes with us that hooked him up with the energies. But he went all over the world and didn't see anything. And he came to ECETI and he goes, I'm on UFO overload. But, you know, it's kind of sad because this happens all the time. And we've had so many crews come up and photograph everything, get all the information, and then it gets censored. You know, the good stuff censored. It's sad. But a lot of, I mean, tens of thousands of people have come and seen the ships themselves, so they can't censor that.
No, they can't censor that.
I was shocked that the BBC. I was shocked the BBC released that documentary because it was just so fundamentally accurate about what you need to do in order to see those ships. You know, you got to get yourself centered. You've got to, you know, find peace with yourself, and then go out and just. I explain it to people. You know, it's like going to grab a cup of coffee. You know, you might go downstairs, get to the coffee filter, realize that you've got coffee, but you've not got filters. No big deal. You knew you were going downstairs to get a cup of coffee, but it might not happen, or it will happen.
Yeah, basically, it's on their dime. You know, they decide, and they'll fly over the group, and if the group energy isn't together, if there's just a lot of weird energy there, they'll stay high. You'll see them, but they'll stay high. But if you have a good cohesive group that's raising their frequency, that they'll scan the integrity of the entire group, and then they'll come in nice and low and really make themselves known. But you know, I had oh God, I'm trying to think of these people. I'm brain farting right now, but Jimmy Church and the Soul Tech guys, and they came out and God, I keep brain farting on this guy. I'm trying to remember his name. It'll come to me. But you know, a lot of them saw their first UFO there. You know, and they're really famous people, and they go, "Oh my God," and they're freaking out. You know, and I say, "You kidding? You've never seen a UFO before?" And they go, "No." You know, and William Henry was there. I love what he said. Big ship came over and powered up right over the field, and I go, William, did you see that? And he goes, what do you mean see it? He goes, I felt it. You know, he goes, I got hit with a bliss bomb. You know, and that's where it's really at. It's about opening your heart. You know, it takes an open mind, a loving heart, and pure intent, and you're going to have contact. And so all these people in the industry, they know who we are. They know it's real and everything, but most of them won't talk about it because they'll get cut out. They'll be taken off of major TV platforms and things like that because we're like kryptonite, I guess. You know?
I always think if people are platformed or they have just a few too many subscribers, I'm like inquisitive. Like, how did you get there? Like, why are you there? You know, why are the rest of us? Because I know who gets platformed. I know how this whole system works, and it's not in the favor of the truth.
Well, we tell people, you know, we make it very clear when people come to the ranch. I said, look, I'm not your guru, you are. And you know, we're going to help you make your own personal connection with Creator. And on that journey, you're going to meet all kinds of other beings too. So be sure you know how to heal unseen negative influences and shield up and keep yourself clear. So everything we do empowers the individual. And one woman said, how many followers do you have? And I said, hopefully none. You know, I hope they're all being inspired to make their own connection, you know, with Creator. But, you know, it's like we have a whole different program, and you got to be leery about the people that are on the top of the food chain. You know, they've all got backing, and you got to go, okay, where's that backing coming from? You know, we've had a couple funders come in just recently where I've been funding everything myself, just on counseling and book sales and doing conferences, events there at the ranch. That's been funding everything. But now with COVID and all the other nonsense in the economy, we're like hanging on, you know. But I didn't want to take outside funding, you know, because a lot of it comes with strings, and you have to stay within a controlled narrative. If you get out of it, they'll censor you. But having my own shows, and I can do my own conferences and hold my own events now, they can't, you know. They try.
Yeah, they do try too. I said, you know, if you go back to that conference that you were at, James, where you're phasing out, people are clapping and applauding. Now, wouldn't you think you would have James back? They call you back, James?
Yeah, no, they didn't.
That's the stuff that happens. That's a craziness.
What usually happens is they don't call me back for about 5 or 6 years. And they get a real rush of people saying, hey, you got to get this guy on. You got to get this guy. So they, oh, okay. And they bring me back on. And then when I come on, they go, oh, shit. You know, he's talking about the benevolent ones. He's empowering the people, you know. People are starting to realize they're not just a meat suit or a body and a personality. And they're being totally hit, you know, with the energies. And, you know, one time I was at the International UFO Congress a long time ago in Nevada, and I gave a talk there, and the Palladians came in, and almost all the women were crying, and some of the men too. They were getting downloaded, and it was intense. And they told me, don't talk about the benevolent ones, you know. So I did, you know.
I know.
It's what I do, you know. It's like, why'd you invite me here?
I know. It's gonna come out. Like, why?
I don't do half truths, you know. I don't. Sorry, you know. It's like,
it's impossible. Don't you think it's impossible to do? I think it's just impossible for some people. I feel like whatever the curse, I think Phil's right along the same lines. And you don't sit down. I, you know, as many times as I've been whomped over the head, I've been held to the fullest extent of the law. And this is not even a joke. People who know me, like, as many times, if there were something tomorrow that were impeding upon our freedom of speech, who would be the first one to run out there? I think I would. I know I would.
Yeah, that's kind of like my nature. I
know.
Don't do something, you know. I'm that kid that goes, okay, you know.
Yeah, let's go. Let's grab those signs.
Do what I came to do, you know. It's like, that's who I am, and that's what I do, you know. So, but
by design,
it's I mean, it's had consequences, you know. I've been shot at and had my brake lines cut, and lug nuts taken off and threatened, and legal stuff and
Oh yeah.
you name it. They've done everything to try to shut down the ranch. But they're still trying. But I think their time's up. They're not going to be able to pull anything off.
They're not letting go of this power without a fight. That's the way I feel like. So I hopefully when this flips itself again, they lose control because it's gotten out of hand.
Well, it's like standing in front of like a 200-foot tsunami and saying stop. It's not going to work out.
That's the way you feel sometimes. And then it's the worst. The worst is to know that the people who know the consequences that stand with you are the first ones. They are the first ones to turn around and, slap you in the face with it. I'm like, we all talked about this. You all knew the consequences, but as soon as you hit them, they hit you first. They're gone. They are gone.
Yeah, it's kind of it comes with the territory. You gotta realize, you're not everybody's ready for this, and you're upsetting their comfort zone, and they're part of the herd. And they want social consciousness to continue business as usual, and that's okay for them, but it's not. It's not going to continue business as usual. So it's better to wake up, and start preparing on every level.
A part of me feels very satisfied with the fact of when that Band-Aid, they rip that off of them, that then they will get that, I don't know why, probably should not be like that. But a part of me really welcomes that. And I would love, it just gives me a little tiny bit of satisfaction. I probably need
what? If you really look at it, like I was saying, people are just going through their shit big time right now. Everybody's going through their stuff. The energy coming is bringing everything up. And when I see people getting frustrated and angry and crying and everything else, and I go, good. They go, my life's in total chaos, and I said, good. That's part of the healing, and so I look at it differently. When I see somebody crying, I go, awesome. They're processing. They're finally healing.
They're getting their cathartic release.
Yeah. And that happens a lot, and actually when the masters come in, especially Yeshua, and when he pops in, everybody's crying, and it's like tears of joy, and it's also a release at the same time. But it's kind of natural. I can't remember what those 4 phases are you go through. It starts out with denial, and then it ends up with holy shit, this is real, and then you get angry, and then you release it. There's like
try to barter with it.
Yeah, and people go through that process, and the thing is, you have to practice loving detachment and not get caught up in the drama or whatever.
Well, everybody has grief and loss, but I just feel like some of us have gone and some of us have been hit harder than others. It just like over and over and over again. Like I'm tired of taking beatings for people who are not willing to, at first, I think I was a martyr. Like, oh, I'm the one that can lead this. Oh, I'm the one, but then I see everybody else and I'm like, no, I'm that person that's throwing myself out in front of the truck so everybody else can just scurry through, without harm. So that's not the way to be either. So it's hard to find that balance when and you have that inner compass and the difference between right and wrong. And when to say something, do something. You see something, say something, and do something. You don't just sit back and shut your mouth and put your head in the sand.
Yeah, there's several things I've learned over the years. One is that a lot of victims are people that came with an agenda. And when that agenda wasn't fulfilled, they become victims. And that victim role is a way of trying to get emotional or financial support from others. And they're going to the saviors and they're going, help me. And when the savior goes, okay, look, you need to wake up and figure out why you magnetize people and events around this, heal this, and things like that. They go, you're not giving me what I want. And so now that savior is the persecutor in their eyes. And now the victim is the persecutor too. And they're trying to pull another savior. It's a triangle. And you get on this wheel, this victim, persecutor, savior triangle. And I've learned not to get on that wheel. And when somebody's telling you a story, it's their story. There's a whole nother side to the story that you're not hearing. And so don't jump to conclusions or side or anything. Just say, okay. And the other thing I've learned too is I've had people come up to me and go, "Oh, my father died," and they're just all upset. And they go, "Why are you smiling?" And they look at me and they go, "Why are you smiling?" And I said, "Well, your father's standing right there. You know, he's not dead. You just can't see him. And he's in a better place. And he's trying to get you to let go of your grief. That's why he's standing there. You know, why don't you release him and let him get on with his journey, you know?" And
People don't realize that, James. People do not realize we are the ones that bring them here, and we are the ones that are holding on to them here for the most part.
exactly. And so, you know, they go, why aren't you grieving with me? And I said, you know, like Jesus said, let the dead bury the dead. You know, it's like we got work to do. We've got stuff to do. But it's just a whole different, it's really freeing when you figure it out, wake up to all these dramas and really whatever's going on is just a blip.
It's freeing in one way, but then you're going to have to really like watch your freeing experience as you go down the road. With our local one.
They're threatened by that.
Yeah.
You know, one person will go, "Oh, he was an asshole, man. He wouldn't get upset. He didn't grieve with me. And he's got no heart, you know, and everything." And I go, how does that fit in? You know, it's like, because I didn't want to diminish my love and joy and bliss and join you, that made me an asshole. And you know, it's like, because I can see the big picture and what's really happening, you know. And does that make you an asshole? No. You know, and I do have compassion for them. I'm sorry that they're grieving, you know, and they did lose somebody close to them, but did they? Did they really lose them, or is their belief blocking them from reconnecting? You know, it's like,
that's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, I definitely.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way of looking at it. I've had a lot of death in my family, and I often wonder, will I ever see them again? You know, and one of the big themes of my contact experiences were, you know, do you believe it when you see it, or do you see it when you believe it? And I think it's kind of the latter. Maybe I need to do some work on that for myself.
Yeah, my dad, when my dad died, it was so funny because I was really focused. I was helping this scientist work, and he was healing all kinds of people and doing this work, and I was working with him. And my dad turned and looked at me and he goes, "Go heal, you know, get on with your work, you know." And then the second thing he said was, "Beam me up." And so I go, and then he died, right? And so I go, why would he say, "Beam me up," you know? And so I went outside, and something told me, grab your camera. I walked outside. There's this beautiful turquoise light ship right over the house. And I got photographs of it. And then it all started making sense. Like, heaven is much bigger than we can imagine. There's not just angels with harps and clouds up there. It's multidimensional. There's advanced civilizations in these higher dimensions, and it's beyond anything, you know, we can imagine. And he went back to the Orion Council of Light. He's still working on the liberation of humanity and the earth, you know, from that level. And I still see him all the time. But he pops in now and then. And I have psychics come over and go, "Somebody here right now. I think it's your dad." And I go, "Yeah, he's checking you out." You know, he's like, you know, so it's kind of funny.
Was your father into this stuff as well?
He didn't want to talk about it, but he was very aware of it. And he was like a walking Buddha. He was very solid. And we would be driving down the road. He'd pull over the road and he'd go, "Kids, get out, get out." And then we'd get out of the car. He goes, "Look up." There'd be 5 ships hovering over the car. And so even as a kid, I was having all these experiences, but he didn't, you know, he was a dentist and he was very up in social realms or whatever. And he knew people couldn't handle it. You know, some people he'd talk to about it. But as a kid, you know, he'd have people over to the house, and I'd go for my dad and I go, "That he's a bad man," you know. He's a bad. And this guy's trying to do business with my dad, and my dad would listen. I go, don't. He's a bad man. Don't do. And then I go, oh, your children are so. He would do that total swooning thing. Your children are so beautiful and so and so intelligent. He's just doing all this stuff, and then when the guy left, I'd walk to my dad and go, he's a bad man. So
that's good. He listened to you.
Yeah, they did. My dad really listened. My mom was a little was kind of materialistic. Her mother was Cherokee, in that lineage, and so she didn't want anybody to know that. And she had abilities, but she hid it. And there's a joke, they called her Wanda the Witch because she could see things ahead of time sometimes and things, but she really suppressed that. She didn't want anybody to know about that. And she was really concerned about people's opinion, which I think really stifled her heart, kept her back, but she did the best she could, with what she knew.
Wow. Yeah, no, that does when you hold that somebody else's view or their subjective viewpoint of you, it holds you back. It definitely.
Well, yeah, I was a little kid, and I as a little kid, my mom was doing some stuff, and I said, I know why you do that. And she goes, why? And I said, because we had a past life in Greece, and our dad gave me the business and gave you a dowry to go get married, and you've never let go of that, and she'd just freak out. That's bullshit. That's, and the Pleiadians would take me and show me the whole thing and then help me depersonalize what was going on. So it didn't become some trauma or something, so.
That's good. And when they experienced it, they show you how they experienced when they're recreating. When I was up, they showed me like a viewpoint, but it was like actually replaying what was there. We were just there watching it all replay. It was very, very
you'd see the whole thing and you get the emotional energy around it, and it would just take a second.
Yeah.
You get all this info in just 1 second, but maybe 2-3 seconds. But it was amazing. But it really saved me from a lot of trauma, because they would tell me, say, people think one thing, they feel something else, and then they say something else, and they're not congruent, and you got to get used to that. And I had all three inputs coming at the same time. It was driving me crazy. And then I realized that everybody's just acting out their past, and they haven't released past life trauma, things like that, childhood trauma. And then they're all mixed up. And so when I realized that, I could depersonalize it. And what's sad is you could feel people's heart, but they always didn't do. They weren't guided by the heart. Their mind took over. Which is your intellect is just a drop in the sea of consciousness. It's such a small part of you. And unfortunately, the patriarchal side of things is governed by the intellect, and it's become totally imbalanced. And that's why the feminine has to come forward and bring balance back,
I remember growing up, my grandpa used to say the intellects are how stupid the intellects are. And when I was going to grad school at the time, I was like, man, grandpa, like really. But he would always be so adamant. And looking back, I'm like, he was right. He really was right. I mean, the whole indoctrination, mighty as I don't even want to even know what you even call it anymore. But you take on a different role, but it is so far from the truth. It is so far from the truth. You become.
Hey, can I take a 20-second bathroom break and you guys can carry on? I'll be right back.
Yeah, no, you're good.
I'm drinking tons of water and I had some coffee and I'm just like, you rent it,
No, you rent it. No, it's all right. That's hilarious. Yeah, no, I know it is so true though. I mean, it's the bigger, the longer, the more school you into, that's like the more deprogramming you have to do. I think anyway. What do you feel like, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I never really paid much attention in school. I was off playing guitar most of the time, Skyving lessons, things like that. So I didn't have too much deprogramming to do. But it was interesting what James said there about you learn not to take it personally when you realize that people are just kind of suffering within themselves. That's a really good piece of advice, actually. and I think I'm going to see the world very differently now after that. Not to take things personally when people are going through stuff.
It's hard. Is it not hard to do? I have to step away from it from time to time because it is hard. It's very hard.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd never go out my way to, harm or attack anyone that was somehow doing me harm. I just try and remove myself from the situation as quickly as I possibly can, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm at the point now where I can sit there and think, oh, that's a shame, what they're going through. But I never really looked at it the way James just put it. Really, it's. Whereas before I would say, oh, it's a shame what they're going through, and still take it personally. But now I think I'd probably be able to go, oh, it's a shame what they're going through, and just not take it personally.
You got to let people have their own issues, and it's hard.
Yeah, and not want to fix them. I think that's another big theme as well. Them. Yeah, absolutely. That's something else I probably need to get a little bit better at. That's that loving detachment, that he's talking about, I suppose.
It takes a lot because I think even growing up, like with my siblings, I'd always be like, you know what? I can handle this before everybody else can. I can do whatever before. So I always took that on. And then I started to see, in those moments I needed somebody, they were not willing to take any of that on. And I was thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I throwing myself in front of this moving train? People need to learn to keep and have their own issues. I always say, you know what? Now that's like my number one thing is they need to have their own issues. They need to learn how to deal with these issues. I can't be here to rescue them from them. And it's not my place.
It's like a train wreck for us if we do. You put yourself right in the middle of it, and then bam, you get knocked right over.
We're talking about everybody's issues, James, and letting them have their own issues, or not taking those issues on yourself.
Yeah, I'm really glad I'm perfect and don't have any of those problems.
Yeah, I know, right? Me too.
I just have bigger problems. It seems like I don't know what it is, but it's like the more on track you are, the more you're moving up that ladder. You just piss off bigger people, basically. I don't know.
Yeah, that might be we're not controllable. That's another problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been offered a deal. Everybody's been probably offered deals that are sitting up here. And I think I was going to take some of them. I did not. But then they show you the reality of not taking the deals. So you're prepared, just be prepared. Prepare yourself is all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's sad, but so many people just took the deal and then they rose to the top. And these people are definitely have agency connections, and I'm watching it's starting to come out now. It's like, and a lot of them are actually, like I was saying before, a lot of them are actually dying. A lot of the old guard that are planned opposition are aging really fast. A lot of them are just dying, and they because they're hooked in, they're not hooked into the life force, they're hooked into something else. And I've just been watching that over and over again. If you're one side of the fence is phasing out and the other side of the fence is going forward, and you better get on the right side of the fence if you want to continue.
Oh yes, he better get on the right side of things. That's very true. When do you think it's all going to flip around? Do you think and I guess maybe I shouldn't be waiting for my apology. I just think
we're in the middle of it right now. There's something going on. It's a lot of theater, and people aren't seeing the big picture about what's going on. And you're seeing like Candace and Tucker and the other people splitting away, and people don't realize Trump wasn't, which Trump are you angry at? There's multiples, and is it his job is not to support one party or the other? He's here to tear down the whole system, expose the whole system, basically. And there's a whole new guard that's going to come in to take his place, and Candace and Tucker and some of these other guys are part of that. There's quite a few that are calling this out. And so there's a lot of role playing going on. And nothing is as it seems. This whole Iran war, if people knew the real story, it's so much more than we're told. You know, everything going down right now is kind of theater and being orchestrated. But the main thing is don't get pissed, don't attach to it, don't get pissed off. You know, the whole system right now it's been totally corrupted, and it's a controlled narrative, and it's all collapsing. So don't get attached to any of it. You know, just focus on being a kind and loving person, you know, helping others, being of service to humanity and the earth. That's, you know, this other stuff is going to work itself out, you know, but
That's true, though, because you can't sit here. Once in a while, I'll beat myself up, or, you know, a family member will call and they're like, you have your master's, part of your PhD, Don. Why are you doing what you, and I'm like, you know what? You sit in that shame for a second, like, oh, I should be. And then I'm like, you're the one with the problem, because anything that I obtain here, I will not be taking with me. Neither will you. I don't really necessarily want your inherited junk, so please don't clutter it up and think I'm going to have to deal with it. And I will try and do the same. You know, it's like probably
yeah,
part of my problem.
my mom did the same thing. She goes, you need to get a haircut. You know, you need to get a haircut, shave your beard, get a briefcase, and get a good, secure job with the government. That's what she would always say. And I'd look right at her and I'd go, are you happy? And she would go, and she, I'm happy. Look, you know, and I said, you know, and she'd like, you know, she had her white velvet couch, you know, and all this stuff, but we couldn't even come in the house because we were outdoor people, you know. It's like, and it was kind of weird. And so she's sitting there and she shifted back and to validate all this stuff. And I said, yeah, you have all this stuff, but are you happy? You know, are you really happy? And she couldn't answer. And I think we all need to ask ourselves that, are we happy? You know, can we look in the mirror and feel good about who we are and what we're doing? And is it bringing us joy? Are we happy? And very few people, you know, they're so caught up in the social engineering program that they don't even know who they are, especially on a soul level. They don't know where they came in from. They don't know, they don't realize they have spiritual families, you know, on other dimensions. And they don't realize that they have their own personal God connection right here, where the real love and joy and happiness and approval, every acceptance and approval, that's where it comes from. All the other stuff is transitory, you know. People go, yeah, I got this brand new car, man, I'm so happy. And I go, really? And I said, so that car made you happy? And they go, yeah. And I go, really? I said, that car doesn't have any emotions. You know, it's a touchstone. The emotions, you made yourself happy. And you don't need the car to make yourself happy. You can just be happy. And you can love and accept and approve of yourself. You don't need external. And that's all external. And that's the game. That's the distraction. And until people understand that, I mean, you can have a nice car, fine, you know. But if you're attached to that car, if that's your part of your personality or your sense of self, and somebody smashes it, you know, your self-worth just went out the door. You know, and now you're sitting at home, I don't have my car, how am I going to impress the girls, and I can't do this, you know, you're doing all this stuff. And I go, if it took the car to impress somebody, you probably don't need that somebody. You know, there might be somebody else that you might want to hook up with. But I mean, all this, we've been distracted by all these touchstones that this is going to make you happy. Buy the right beer, drive the right car, get the bronze beauty, playing volleyball on the beach, you know, all this is going to make you happy. And it's the big distraction. And it's not, happiness is your natural state. You know, you have a loving, joyous, blissful God being at your core, that spark ready to become the full flame. Why are you giving it up? Why are you giving it up for all these other things? And, you know, and I've had the beautiful women, you know, the bronze women, I've had the cars, and I've had the boat and the big house and all that stuff. And I found out it owned me.
Yeah.
You know, it owned me, and it was all a drive. And basically people don't, a lot of this stuff is a drive just to get laid. You know, they won't admit it. they won't admit it, but why are men getting the big house, the fancy car, making the big bucks and everything? It's to get the woman. And women really have the power. They don't, most of them realize it and work it, and others don't. But you really think about why are men doing all these things? It's to snare the woman, basically. And so, a lot of people don't. These guys go to these conferences, and there's all these. It's sad because there are a lot of kind of Manchurian candidates there. There's a lot of people that just give up everything. Oh, he's famous, and they come attached.
Ridiculous.
Especially if you don't go along with it, it's called a woman scorn, and they get pissed. They get angry.
Yeah. If you turn them down, they're even worse.
Even
I've
worse.
seen this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's even worse.
Crazy.
And you can't, you can't win. And I'll go to these conferences and you won't see me. I'm not at the bar. I'm not at the parties. I'm out walking wherever nature is and doing my own thing, basically. Despite that, there's all these rumors of things happening. And even some of these people that were the counterpart of this, I go, I must have missed something. Did we get intimate somewhere down there? And this one woman goes, well, it's really good for your PR.
Wow, there you go.
It's good for your PR, And I said, yeah, but it didn't happen, It's like, and she goes, don't worry about it, It's like, and I go, well, it's kind of like, and
I know you're not, but this happens all the time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And there's so many weird things, and especially the ones that you go, well, let's hang out, and basically too, I'm not going to apologize for being male, and loving women.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if I decide to be in a relationship, which I haven't for quite some time, but if I decide to do that, that's a pretty natural thing, and there's I'm not going to apologize for that, but and now the mailers are so beaten up by the system, and people don't realize that they're trying to destroy the masculine, because who stands up for the family in the country?
Yes.
The masculine male. And so they're doing all they can to destroy that.
They are.
So I've had people come to me almost ready to commit suicide just because they're a white male. And I go, really? I said, well, how many slaves did you own? And they go, none. And I go, oh, are you a racist? No. So none of this has anything to do with you, does it? And he goes, no. And these are really good people, solid people, really loving, caring people. And they're about ready to off themselves because of all the energy projected on them. And it's sad. And that movement's shifting now. And people are going, hey, it's okay, And to me, it's like, as long as you're honest and you don't abuse and use people and things like that, be very clear, have good communication, be honest, whatever, married, not married, it's what you come from. Do you want to share? Do you want to, whatever? It's like, do you want a divine counterpart, feminine that doubles your energy, basically. It's like, the men and women are different, but they can come together in a complementary union and have all kinds of extra energy, to do things, as long as both are clear and not, dealing with their old wounds and traumas and all that crap coming up in the relationship. But it's like, what happened to the divine masculine and the divine feminine coming together in a complementary union? Why is that so evil now? I don't, it's really weird. And now,
oh God, you're a heterosexual male who likes females. Like, everybody duck and cover,
Yeah, exactly.
What is wrong with you guys?
It's exactly. And, to me, I have to be very careful, because my energies bring everything up. I know that. I found out the hard way, is that, I will become every man that ever hurt or abused or left a woman like that. It happens like that. It's amazing. And so, because their heart's opening, and when their heart opens up, they have to get rid of that stuff.
Mm.
And basically, it's just an energy that moves through me, and so I have to be really careful with that. But so I live a very semi-reclusive life, and here in Hawaii, I'm just picking coffee, and every now and then I go play with the dolphins, which is illegal, so I didn't say that. But you're not supposed to swim with dolphins. But I'm out there just swimming, and they come and say hi, but mind my own business. But anyway, it's just gotten so complicated, and it's hard to find somebody that can walk alongside of you that is strong enough not to be influenced by unseen negative influences, as well as has done their own shadow work. And
yes,
the higher
and it's
you
not
go,
sent to derail you.
and the higher you go in frequency, the lesser your options are. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And I'm at a point now where I'm just going, hey, I've got work to do. I'm super busy. I've got 2 ranches to take care of. And, if I don't have a helpmate on the same page, I'm fine just doing my own thing, which I have been doing,
Well, if you need to go the other way, I mean, they're literally, you're going to have to worry about them tearing it down, burning it down. And
well, one of the problems too is that I'm like totally hooked up with Mary's energy and that divine feminine energy and the Pleiadian energy and things. And when you connect with that, it's very hard to find that here. And other past lives that they're still going on. I mean, some of these people live thousands of years. And I've had past lives with some of these people and have had kids with these people. And now I'm back in connection with them, so it's really hard to function on Earth and deal with a basic Earth relationship. And especially with somebody that hasn't dealt with their shadow side, or
how about somebody who's not even aware of any of this? I mean,
I thought about that. I thought what I'm going to do is I want to find a farm girl that just has solid morals and solid integrity, doesn't know anything about any of this stuff, but it's just a good person.
Yeah.
That's all. Just be kind and loving, It's like, how hard is that? I guess it's very hard, but it's easy for me. I don't understand why you can't just be kind and loving. What I do understand, because people have baggage, and that's all getting amplified. And also too, if you have baggage, those are chinks in your armor and the other entities are going to jump in. And the Ethiopian Bible talks about that, how the archons work. They come through friends and family and lovers, and they do everything to sabotage, your awakening or your enlightenment. And, in the Vedic scriptures, they talk about how the closer you get to nirvana, the more the demons rear their ugly heads. So, I mean, having somebody that can walk with you on that path that is going to empower you, and it's hard to find. To be very honest with you, it's very, very hard to find right now. And all I can do is just help as many people as I can, to get through their stuff, and things like that, but not attached to it, not.
Do you think that's part of the problem, though, is that you're helping and maybe you're luring those people in that need help? And I don't know. When I was a therapist, I did this for 7 years, and it was like the cling. You know what I mean? I could just off of me. They just clung to you. It's like they were those vampires, and they come in and ladies like, God, how do you know? How do you see this stuff? I'm like, your patterns. Don't see the future. I see your patterns. Oh my God.
I usually kind of nip it in the bud right away. Usually I just tell people, look, I'm a reflection of your own, like when I do the Yigong, we do the initiations and people just light up. It's like a battery charger and they're just laughing and just feeling all this love and bliss coming in. All I'm doing is hooking them up with themselves. And I make that very clear. Look, what you're feeling is you. This is who you really are. It's not, and don't externalize it. It's like I'm not any more special than anybody else. I've had some crazy experiences that have woken me up to a lot of things, but we're really all the same. We're all equal. We all came from the same source. You know, it doesn't matter what color we are or what culture or anything. We all have that spark waiting to ignite, you know, into the full flame if we want to do it. I've done my work, you know. I've done, I hate to admit it, but 40 years of intense work, you know, but it even goes further than that, back to 5 years old. But ECETI's been operating for 40 years. And, you know, not even after having the 2 NDEs, I went and studied with almost every elder from every nation. And I found some that were legit, and some were really enlightened, and some weren't. You know, some were self-serving, but they wore the mask of enlightenment, and they said all the right things, you know. So, and there's a lot of that right now. I call it Facebook spirituality. I hate to say it, but
Right.
there is a lot of that. See me, dig me, look at my life, look at what I've done, and everything else. And then they have these people on their shows, and I know these people, and I'm just going, oh my God, why are you having this person, you know, why are you promoting this person's work, you know? And it's just like, and there's a big difference between, you know, I say, you know, there's a big difference between spiritual ego and enlightenment, you know, a huge difference. And when you're enlightened, you're not going to see the ego. You're not going to, I mean, you have to work very hard to become nobody. And then you're everybody, you know, and people are trying to become somebody. And that's the problem. Everybody's trying to become somebody. You already are somebody. In God's eyes, you're like itself, you know, reflection of itself. But it's rough, you know, it's rough out there. And it's really sad. And I try to tell people, look, on the path to enlightenment, you are going to be challenged up the yin yang. I mean, it's going to be crazy. And you have to realize that. And there are people.
It's not for the weak of heart.
Yeah, there are people that are not going to be able to join you on that path. You know, there's going to be a lot of separation, a lot of divisions. And one master teacher I studied with, he said, he goes, "Goddish is selfish." And when he told me that, I went, that's not right. You know, how can you be selfish? And he goes, no, you have to be selfish to become goddish. And then I started thinking, I go, you know what? It's true. You have to be true to your soul, despite what everybody else wants you to be or wants you to do. You have to be true to your soul and to get on with your own unique purpose for being here. And then I understood it. And if that person really does love you, if they're supposed to be with you, they will be with you, you know, but, you know, it'll continue. And down the road, somebody else may take that place if they can't take the journey. But really, the ultimate goal is enlightenment and, you know, at oneness, you know, with the God within you. I mean, that's the ultimate goal for all of us. And it would be nice if we're all on the same page, going in the same direction, but there's a lot of people that aren't, you know.
Yeah. You can only take care of if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. You have to take care of yourself first.
I mean, I've had drop dead gorgeous women come up to me and, I love you beyond all human understanding and everything else. And people, I fell for it. I fell for it a couple times. You know, I'll admit. Yeah, I totally oh my God, this is like this beautiful goddess saying, I love you beyond all human understanding. And I go, this is it. You know, this is the, and then all of a sudden they flip and somebody else is in there. And they try to rip your heart out and just totally destroy your, you know, and it's sad, but that does go on. There is a lot of that. And people don't realize that, you know, you can get hooked by that because, you know, and then too, there's flattery, you know, there's 3 people that fall victim to flattery every time, and it's men, women, and children, you know. And so these people come and they flatter you, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And you open the door and then boom, they got, you know, they got you, you know. So it's like
learned again.
Yeah. Over the years of going through all this stuff, I'm really, I mean, I just got caught recently by the nonsense, and I couldn't believe what caught me up in is I was out swimming with the whales and the dolphins, and I had manta rays coming right up to me and brushing against my chest like 9 times. I have the film of it. I was having all these amazing experiences. And so I was like, oh, we could just combine this, you know, with the UFOs and the higher dimensional beings. And then you've got the dolphins and the whales, and what an awesome connection. And I got caught up in that, not realizing that I was basically being conned, you know, and
By the dolphins?
no, by the people that were let's say the people that were putting on the events with the dolphins and the whales and all the other stuff. You know, I got caught up in that energy, and I go, oh, I want everybody else to experience this. I want to combine it with the UFOs, right? And not realizing the people that I was working with were not who they professed to be, and had a lot of work to do. And
did you want me to show that video?
What's that?
Did you want me to show the video with the dolphins?
The whale one?
The one that you gave. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was a...
yeah, you can show that one. The whale, where the whales came up.
No. Yeah. Taylor! What?
Wow. Are they the same people that were a part of this sham?
I think my mic. Okay, no, that was our event. That was our event that we had. Okay. We broke away. We had to break away from them, and we're doing our own thing now.
Oh, good.
But it was so funny because the whales, they were spiking. They were everywhere around the boat. And when they came up to the boat like that, and then that was a baby and his mom was right under the baby. And when they come up like that, for a mom to let her baby get that close to the boat is unheard of. That, he said, in all of his years, he's never seen that. And the captain said, whoever's on this boat has an incredible connection with the whales, you know, and so, and I had a really good group. I had a real solid group of people then. They're all very connected. But, and that's what happens. The same thing with the manta rays. You know, when I was swimming with them, they just wouldn't leave me alone. You know, they were like, it was crazy. And I have that. Animals recognize you and kids recognize you, but adults have been social engineered. You know, a lot of them don't figure out what's going on. But anyway, you know, for a whale to do that is kind of unheard of. And for a mother to let her baby do that is unheard of. But when we had the event, that we had the ships coming in, the Arcturian ships were coming in. They actually were materializing. We had all kinds of crazy things happen, and people had spontaneous healings, and it was an amazing event. And I'm trying to do more of those, but on Hawaii here, I have to get rid of the social engineering. I mean, I have to deal with the meritless gossip and rumors. I mean, it's pretty heinous. These other people are trying to destroy our reputation to validate taking the land and the other stuff that they did. So I have to deal with that. And all people have to do is come to an event or come and hear me speak or look at the stuff we have. And that gets taken out in a moment, you know, but unfortunately the spiritual and UFO community is very competitive, and there's a lot of backstabbing, and I've never seen anything like it. I've seen a totally throw out all morality, all integrity, and to get notoriety and fame and fortune or a ranch out of it. You know, it's just like,
or their mortgage paid. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's really unbelievable. I go, where's your foundation? Where's your base coming from? You know, where's and you know, the thing is, and some of them are just weak, and they've allowed these other energies to come in and take over. And they've got they haven't done their own shadow work, and they let this stuff in, you know, and if you've got some major men issues, you know, you're going to project that, you know, on
Yeah.
you're actually okay with it too. You know, hate is hate. You know,
Hate is hate.
division,
You're
period.
right.
I don't care what gender, what color you are, what culture, hate is hate. And you know, doing negative acts on others, I don't care what, is not right, period. It's really simple. But how do you throw out the basics and continue? You know, why is there such a sense of what do they call it? It's opportunist, but entitlement, a sense of entitlement. People have this sense of entitlement and they're opportunists, and it's unbelievable the limits that they will go to. I thought after 4 or 5 years they'd figure it out and go, well, maybe we might have fucked up here. You know, I mean,
right.
we
You know,
might
but
have-
from a woman's standpoint, and I know that I'm probably one that stands mostly alone when it comes to this, but I see the same perspective as you see. Like there's always, it seems like when you're standing in a position like any of us are up here on the panel, you have to be careful. People are sent to derail. They're sent, and anytime I do, I always say I get caught right back in and spit right back out, because I can't sit there and pretend like stuff is, you know, I'm not a good pretender. I'm really not.
And that's the thing, is that you're you know, we don't have time for the small stuff. There's a much bigger picture going on, and that's why I tell people I'd love to stay and sit with this drama, but you know, this is a 5-year program, and we've only got maybe 2 or 3 years at the most to get this flipped around, and you know, I can't direct all my energies in that direction. It's not aligned with my soul purpose in the bigger picture, the bigger mission.
Yeah.
You know, so.
That's true too. That is true, because it's a great distraction. Mind you, I've got caught up in the distractions myself.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know, I have to be careful here moving forward, because every step that I take is a possible, you know, and it's hard when you're like, man, because it is a trap. Some of it is a trap. I mean, some of the people are sent here had people tell me that, whether they're saying it for whatever reason, I happen to believe a few of them are here to derail all of it. Like it's just a part of this process.
Yeah, it's sad, but it's part of the human experience, and people are a lot of people are very wounded, haven't even dealt with their shadow side right now. It's all coming up. And we're in this big F fest right now, which is called Ascension, because all the chaos and everything is coming up to get healed. And I've just gone, you know, everybody's, all this shit's flying. Some of it's towards me, and I go, I'm just picking coffee here. You know, like I'm in the field picking coffee. I have no idea what you're talking about. And when I'm at the ranch, I'm working my butt off there. When I go back to the ranch, I mean, there's probably 10 trees. I'm not sure how many trees are down, big 200-year-old trees and things. And I'm going to be on the tractor with the chainsaw, you know, doing that stuff. And between that and the counseling and the shows and everything else, I'm just like, I'm too busy. I don't go to bars. I don't party. I don't go to parties. I don't do any. I don't have time for that right now. I've got too much on my plate, you know. But it's interesting, just the lengths that people that are competitive and they're backstabbers, you know, and the lengths that they will go to rise on the backs of others, you know,
Ride the coattails. Oh yeah,
the jealousy, and the lengths that they will go to rise on the backs of others. It's unbelievable. And you really think it. I'm not trying to say I'm Jesus or anything, but I totally understand what Jesus went through down here, you know, and why he ended up on the cross. I know exactly why it happened.
Oh God.
And, you know, you threaten the status quo.
And they come with pitches and torches and pitchforks. I mean, that's just the way it is. Their programming demands that they come. I mean, they can't help themselves. It doesn't matter where I find myself. There's always something. And I figure it must be a part of the programming, you know, whether it be a neighbor that's crazy, somewhere within my vicinity, and I will show up like a radar on their, like, you know, it's like, oh God.
Yeah, people call me and invite me to parties. They invite me to parties, and I go, God, you know, be nice to hang out with some other people on the same.
Oh God, no, Rod. Yeah.
Maybe, you know, and then, you know, after about 3 or 4 years, I go, okay, this is a nice person. I'm going to go to their party. And I go there and everybody's stoned and and they're all like, and it's just like, and then you got the see me, dig me guys, you know, playing the music and and you're just going, and everybody's feeding off of it. You can see the energy. Everybody's like feeding off each other. And you go there and you go, God, they don't even know what's going on here. They can't even see like these empty people trying to, you know, feed off of others. It's really, it's sad, you know, and I'm not trying to say I'm holier than thou. I did that at one time. I'm sure when I was younger, I mean, I always had a big heart and I was always honest and I had pretty strong morals, you know, and, you know, if I was with a woman, I was always loyal and always true. And if it didn't work out, we would work it through it and decide to separate or whatever, you know. It's like, but you know, it's like some of these people in the UFO community have 4 or 5 women all going at the same time, and
Not even just women.
Yeah,
There's
they're not.
some
Yeah,
that have both men. I mean, we're talking a
exactly.
spectrum.
Yeah, and the same thing, and yeah, a lot of men have men going too.
Oh God,
and
yeah.
little boys.
So
and
weird.
I mean, I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole, but it's there, and I know who they are and who's who. And unfortunately, they're at the top of the food chain right now. But that's not going to work. It's all going to be revealed.
I hope so. I hope so, because that's the part that bothers me the most. Sorry, go ahead, Phil.
I'm just sat here listening to you folks talking about the community, and I've not really submerged myself in it. You know, I've just done. Yeah, no, thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can do shows, and and you can even go there. I mean, I can go. I'm going to a conference next week, but when I go to these conferences, you know, Corey Good's conference, I'm going to go speak at that. And when I go to these, I just stopped doing conferences, and I just did conferences at the ranch and work with people there. And I just stopped going because, like, I was invited to 2 or 3 conferences this year, and I looked at their lineup and the people were there, and I go, those guys are going to be waiting for me, you know.
Oh,
and
I know.
Not that I've said anything bad about them but they know I know who they are, and they're going to do everything they can. And they're little minions, and a lot of them even on stage said some things. They go, we're a bunch of drugged out hippies there, you know, and we have a no drug policy. I don't do drugs, you know, I don't drink, nothing, you know. And
other than coffee, doesn't even drink caffeine.
Yeah, I do drink coffee because I grow my own here.
I know, but
and it's really different. It's done in the Hawaiian tradition, and there's a way you can drink coffee I mean, I had coconut milk to it, I had cinnamon and cacao to it, and what else? Oh, and also collagen. And so when I drink coffee, it's actually, you know, coffee itself actually has a lot of healing properties to it.
Well, they don't want you awake, but my whole point was you don't do anything other than drink coffee, which grows, you're pulling, I mean, out picking it off your trees. I mean, how?
Exactly. You know, I think it's really important for this to, you know, whether you're in a relationship or not with men, just be honest, be totally honest. Don't bullshit. Don't make a bunch of promises and statements and things like that, you know, and don't be a predator. You know, if you're looking for love and you're looking for a partner, that's great, you know, but don't do it with 4 or 5 and make promises to all 4 of them.
I know, right? They need an enlightened dating site on the easy. Like, I know a lot of us out there. Yeah,
exactly. And the other thing is, don't beat yourself up for being masculine, for being a male. You know, because that divine masculine is what's going to save the planet, as well as the divine feminine. But the masculine are the ones that take care of the family and they take care of the country. I mean, by nature, that's the masculine nature. And so they're doing all they can to suppress that and shut that down and guilt trip you and all this other stuff, you know. So it's like, you know, but just know what the divine masculine is, you know, what it's not the social engineering program that you have to have the nice car and the beautiful women and 10 women to feel good about yourself and all that other crap. That's not what it is.
Absolutely not. I always tell people you are good enough. Your story's good enough. You can be good. It's when you go and deviate outside of that, I can sense it. It's like,
Yeah.
just be who you are. Why do we have to, like, you know, everybody's out there. They have to be somebody better. No, please just be who you are. It's good enough. It really is.
I think one of my problems really is that, I don't know if it's a problem, but spending so much time with divine feminine and higher dimensional feminine energies and just full on goddess energies, you know, I've kind of been spoiled or, and I shouldn't expect that here on earth. You know, I shouldn't expect that, but, and but you're hardwired, you know, men are hardwired to look for that, to find that. I mean, we don't have a choice. It's hardwired into us. It's like, and so you got that hardwired part of you, and then you have your spiritual side, and they're kind of at odds all the time. And the hardwired part is always going to say, go, 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 you know, and the spiritual side is going, remember what happened last time? You know, remember?
Yeah. Proceed with caution. Proceed with caution.
There's a joke about that. I'll probably be branded as being unspiritual, but by telling it, but there's an old joke about that is how come men name their peckers, you know? It's because they want to be on a first name basis with one making all the decisions in their life. There's a lot of truth to that. I mean, we are hardwired. That is the stronger drive, you know, but we have to transcend that. And it's okay. I mean, you live on a ranch, you know, you look at what a rooster does to the hens, you know, at least we're not that. We're not I mean, that's kind of those primal things that are hardwired into us. But, you know, and women need to realize that too, you know, like, hey, you know, this guy's being a man.
Crazy.
You know?
Yes. Why I don't understand.
If this isn't what you want, just set a boundary. You know, you don't have to.
I said, I'm not out liberating women. I'm not giving, you know, like, you want to take the trash, like, you think I'm going to go out and fight you for that. You go right ahead. You know, I'm not being serious in that way, but you have to have balance. You have to have balance in all this. It's not, you know, like, burn your bras. That's dumb. We paid good money for them. You know, it's just like stupidity at its finest.
Well, that's what the Pleiadians were saying. The Pleiades, you know, I asked, here's a good example. I asked Blajee, she's a seventh dimensional Pleiadian, right? Beautiful. She's like 400 and something, I forget how many, 30 or 50 years old. Looks like she's like 20, you know, just beautiful woman. And so I asked her, I was going, well, what would happen if we hooked up, you know? And, you know, you just fall in love with these. They're so beautiful and so loving. And I was curious because I heard all these stories about people bragging how they had Pleiadian girlfriends, and it was all bullshit stories. And so I asked her, I said, what would happen? And she goes, you know, not going to happen, you know? And I go, look, I don't feel dissed. I'm not upset, but why? I want to know why. And she said, well, you are socially engineered. She used a different word. And you believe that you're going to be happy if you have the white picket fence, the 2.4 kids and the dog and the wife, and she's going to be limited to your needs. And that's the social engineering you're running on. And she goes, although you've transcended most of it, it's still there. It's a pattern. And she said, we're not like that. We don't, there's no ownership. There's no jealousy. There's no, we're guided by our souls and what our souls need for completion. It's like it's totally different. And people go, well, that's blasphemy and stuff. And I go, well, Jesus said that, and they go, where? And I go, well, this woman died. And well, what happened is this woman was married to a brother and he died. Well, she went to the other brother because that's Jewish law, right? So she went to the other brother and he dies. And then so she goes to the third brother. And then so they're asking Jesus, like, when she goes to heaven and she dies, which brother is she going to be with? And she can't be with all the brothers. That's adultery, and against, the law. And Jesus turned and he said, when she goes to heaven, she'll be free as an angel. And so she's going to be beyond that. And that's the way we have to look at things, that we need to be free to be guided by our own heart and soul, to engage with who we need to engage with, and end all the jealousy and all the other stuff. And a lot of people think that's like free love and all the crazy stuff. No, that's free love. And the other stuff is when you're trying to get something out of the other person. You're trying to feed off that person to get the love and the acceptance and approval you haven't found in yourself. And you're running a program, and that's very manipulative and controlling. That's not love. That's something else. That's a construct. And they're beyond that. They're beyond all those constructs. So I thought about it. I go, yeah, if I went to the Pleiades, she's probably hanging out with all these people, and I'd be sitting there in my room going, oh, what's this? Why isn't she with me? And she doesn't love me, and things like that. I'm over exaggerating, but that's kind of, and it doesn't mean they're all doing each other. It might not be that way. It's like they have some, that other person has something they need for evolution, for completion. And the universe works that way. In the higher realms, it's not like our program here on Earth, and it's a different program. And so she goes, you have to lose all that. You have to lose all that and totally be driven from your own heart and soul, and that inspiration. So, and, she said, and this is quite a long time ago, she goes, you have a lot of work to do, and I totally understood it. And I said, thank you for explain this to me, because this all makes sense. And so it's
man, if you have a lot of work to do, just think about the rest of the people on this planet.
Yeah. So it's really, and until we do that work, we're not ready. We're not ready for contact with these beings. They are inspiring us. They are helping us. Some people have risen to the occasion. Some people have agreements they've made before they incarnated, and they're coming together. That's different. But your average Joe and Jill out there, they really need to raise their consciousness and let go of all the wounds and traumas and jealousies and competition and all the other nonsense. They got to get beyond that.
Yeah, definitely. One of the main things in my contact was, I'd never felt love like it in their presence. They care about you so deeply. But in a really healthy way, not like a possessive way. Like, they care about your development, your soul, your growth. And I'd never really interacted with anyone like that before on the planet. Very few, one or two maybe, but
yeah. That really definitely care for you and your well-being, and that's really hard to find. Even when they think they do, a lot of them are just running a program. But I had this being appear to me, and she was an Anunnaki, one of the ancient Anunnakis, and a lot of them ascended and kept going. And the fallen Anunnaki were stuck here on Earth, and they didn't go anywhere. And her name was Inha, and she was like this 6-dimensional Anunnaki goddess, and she looked like Cameron Diaz, basically, but only she's about 8'6". And she appeared to me at Contact in the Desert, actually in my room, and she told me, she goes, I want you to give the real story, the rest of the story. And so I had a conversation with her, and she said, when you talk about the Anunnaki, they're not reptilians. They're our seed. We came from ancient Lyra, is where that seed came from. And she said that when we came to Earth, we did get into turf wars, and we did in our ancient past. And a lot of us evolved and continued to evolve, and some were stuck here. And she said, there's two sides of the story. There was always a benevolent side and a malevolent side. And so we need to understand that within everything. With the ETs, there's benevolent ETs, there's malevolent ones. Spirits, there's malevolent spirits, there's angels and whatever you want to call it, like archangels and all these other beings but out there. But it's a very diverse universe. And when I connected with her, I felt so much love and kind of like royalty, like a goddess. I can't even explain it. I don't want to use the word royalty. It was she knew who she was, put it that way. And she was a goddess, and she was just beautiful and she just emanated it. And being when she appeared to me, all I could say was, yes, ma'am. What do you need? What do you need? That's all you do. You're such in awe, and you feel that love and that power coming from them. And they're like brilliant, they're totally enlightened plus. And so, and so she started filling me in with all the ancient stories, what really happened in the past. And then she showed me my participants in it, my lives in that, some of that stuff. And I'm fully aware of that. And I'm actually have people that I was with then that are here now with me that are working together. I have a great crew. They're very, very wise and loving and compassionate. And that's it's great. That's what keeps ECETI going, and what's funny too is the women are in charge at ECETI. People go, yeah, you're the patriarchal, they hear all this stuff. And I go, no, the women run it. The women are in charge at ECETI. We all work together and making decisions and do a lot of spiritual work together, but and really by nature, okay, the reasons a lot of civilizations fall is because they destroyed the divine feminine. They created a division, and by nature, the feminine side is subjective, and it receives the information from on high, and the male side is objective, and it makes it happen. So usually the right side is male, or left side is female, but there's changes in that. If you're left-handed or something, it's different. But we have both of those within us. But on the female side, they're more subjective. They're I don't want to say negative. There's positive, negative energy, but they're on a different frequency, and they're working from the emotional body, which processes 10 times faster, and it's much larger than the intellect. And so in an advanced civilization, most of them are more matriarchal. And they aren't even matriarchal, they're balanced. But before they become perfectly balanced, they're usually matriarchal because they're getting the guidance on high, and they're both working together to make it happen. But the women have a little better connection, and that's natural. That's just the way it is.
The men drive it forward, but yet the women are the ones that are connected to.
And the men need to develop their feminine side, their subjective side, and get beyond the intellect, because the intellect is just a drop in the sea of consciousness. And the women are better at that. By nature, they're better at that. So if you really want to have a good relationship, that's why I say happy wife, happy house, and things like that. And so basically that's really the way things need to be run. Now, if you look at really what almost all of our problems we've had is because we are now being guided by a patriarchal and a hierarchical system. And all that does is create division and disempowerment. And it's not unity, and it's not coming together. And if you look at that, the big picture, every time you'll see, okay, there's this 2 patriarchs going to war, and this hierarchical system that's going, we're better, we're more powerful. And then the matriarchal side is going, wait a second, there are kids over there, there's children over there, there's families, grandmothers, and so we got to get back to that balance, find that balance again. And I think I've always said we really need some matriarchal councils, to put together and get a voice out there where they can start saying, hey, you guys are off track here. You're going down the wrong path. And they are, like, the Palladians are more matriarchal than patriarchal. They're very balanced, but the feminine is really respected there. Most of their ships are piloted by women because women make better pilots. Because the ship is intelligent, it's sensitive, and because the women process faster because they're in their emotional body, which is much bigger, you add that to the ship, which is tied to you. They can process faster, and they make better pilots by nature. And so
I'm glad you said that. My whole life I was told, because I have my aviation degree, my mom said women should never fly airplanes. They're too emotionally unstable. I'm like, you know what? Thank you right there, James. I just cured about my childhood trauma.
It has to do with the control system, the sensitivity of the controls, and the fast process you need to fly. You can't do it from the intellect. The intellect is the ship is going to be so far ahead of you. The AI will just leave you in the dust, because the intellect, again, is just a drop in the sea of consciousness. So, you can't keep up.
Well, it's true. Even aviating, like when you're out flying, you have to go instinctively. You have to try, it's a lot of it is by your instincts. A lot of it is.
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to know what's on the other side of that cloud. The same thing when you're driving. You should know what's over. You have the ability to know what's over the horizon. And a lot of times you're driving, you just start braking, and they go, "What are you stopping for?" And I go, "I don't know." And all of a sudden, this big elk runs out in front of you, or something, or there's a big accident over the next hill. That's happened to me so many times, and I tell people, "Why are you slowing down?" I go, "There's a deer," and they go, "What?" I go, "I know. My spidey senses are saying deer." I'm slowing down, and all of a sudden, this whole herd of deer come running across the road, right in front of me, and but we should be able to know. We can see forward or backward in time. We can bilocate. We have telepathy. All that's part of our DNA that's getting activated right now. So we should be able to use all those abilities.
So you think that's part of the evolution in humans, that we're going to have to be in touch with that again? Because I've certainly heard a lot of that, where you can have memories of the future. It all depends on the hour of time. When the main theme of my contact experiences was the 3 T's: teleportation, telekinesis, and teleportation. And at the time, I thought, what? Well, that's crazy. But it seems like it is true.
Oh, yeah.
It's our natural state, and all of that's being activated right now. We have all those abilities within us, but I mean, there's like Peter Slattery. I work a lot with Peter, and he's doing all these experiments and moving things with his mind, and he's doing I can't remember what he calls it, psi something. There's a name for it. But he's got a whole crew together, and he's working with these people, and I got on the phone with all of them, and they're talking about how you can affect things at a distance, and this and that, and all this other stuff.
Oh yeah.
And he goes, "Hey James, send some energy over here." And I said, okay, and the other guys on the other side were really pretty sensitive, and they're working with all this stuff. And so so one of the guys is sitting there, he's going, holy shit. He goes, my whole body's heating up, you know, and I'm getting this big shit-eating grin on my face. He goes, what the hell is this? You know, and I said, "You asked me to do it," you know, so.
How do you send it? Do you send it this way or this way?
I just think it.
So you send it.
And usually it's not just me, because I'm multidimensional. There's other beings I work with that will go and do it. Like Ezekiel likes to go and give people, you know, bliss hits, because it's not really a he. It's Ezekiel and Cassia that soul merged and ascended together into the 7th dimension. And so I asked the Andromedans, who's Ezekiel? And they said it's the God of eternal bliss. And I go, wow, that's nice, you know. And then they told me that I was his hands and feet basically down here, that we're working together. And so he goes around and gives people bliss hits and helps people, you know. It's kind of funny.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There are so many ways that people don't even realize, like, just because it's outside of your awareness. I've learned a lot about manipulating like that energy, and, you know, that around it is more easily done than what people realize.
Yeah, I had a guy come to the ranch, and he was really scientific, and he goes, you know, all this stuff you're talking about is woo-woo. It's not real or anything. I go, really? And I go, see that woman all the way at the other side down there on the fence line? She was like quarter mile away. I go, do you see her standing there? And he goes, yeah. And so I took my hands, and I just went, push some energy at her. And you see her go like this, you know, she goes like this, and she turns around and looks at us like this. And the guy crapped his pants, you know, he just shit, you know. And I go, well, she's really sensitive. It's easy to work with her because she's really sensitive. And so some people, nothing's going to happen. And it's because they can't sense it. They don't have the ability to sense it, you know. So the more spiritually evolved you are, the more all of this opens up, and all of these abilities start opening up, and you'll be able to communicate with each other. You don't even need a phone, you know.
No. How do you tune in? How do you tune in with communication? I get to that part and I have a problem. Or I get to the ringing, like,
you know what?
We got to tune that in.
It took years and years of meditation and practice and everything else, but now it's much easier. But it's like you need a map to get to somewhere in the beginning, but when you've gone there enough, you throw the map away because you don't need it anymore. And so it's just automatic. You know, it's automatic for me. It's like I think of them, and we're connected, and we can all do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to think of the Palladians, and my whole left side starts tingling, and I go, okay, which one do I have here? You know, who am I working with? And then I can get their name and find out from there which group. It's the same thing. On the Orion Council of Light, they're planetary liberators, or Siavon comes in. He's like Siavon's a kind of like a Jedi. There's a whole group, and it's like a Palladian colony, but they're warriors, and they've been training all their lives, you know, and for certain situations, and they're here now, and they've come in now, and Siavon's like the head guy. And when he came in, I had to go, could you like tone it down a little bit? I was like, I was getting fried, and I was getting a headache, and I was going, geez, who are you?
A lot.
And then I saw him, I could see a vision of him, and I go, holy shit. I go, you look like Superman. I go, what's the deal there? You know? And he goes, well, we're pretty close. You know, we're pretty close to. And I kind of think that there's been some genetic, I don't think it's a bad thing, but they've been genetically modified or altered or something, but they're like super soldiers. And, you know, you know, I tell him, oh, this is happening. He goes, don't worry about it. You know, not a problem, you know. Yeah. And so they're here now. And so things are going to really escalate, you know, things are going to happen quick.
Well, that should be interesting.
A lot of guardian energy coming in right now that's going to help with this shift. A lot of higher dimensional beings are here to help us make the shift.
We need it. We really do. So do you think some of us are from, I guess, what are your thoughts on like the frequency, or the people that are more in tune or have been born into some of this stuff with some of these markers that maybe our government has been looking for?
Well, yeah, a lot of people have. They came in, for this. They came in to do this, and they're loaded, and they just need to be activated. They're like kindling. Throw a little match on them, boom, they open up and go, oh, okay, and everything starts coming in. And then there's some people that are just like wet wood. No matter how many matches you throw at them, nothing. It's going to take a long time for them to dry out and get ready. And the kids are all really hardwired. They're the kids coming in now just have it.
Do you think I was going to get a hold of Mary Rodwell again? Do you think the kids have even come to the surface on this? Have they pulled the kids in yet?
Where's that now?
Do you think that the kids, they're, kids, like, according to Mary, and I happen to, like, I agree with her. She said the kids are no match for even AI is no match for the kids.
Yeah.
I feel like they haven't brought the kids to the forefront yet.
No, they're just now coming. They're just now coming online.
That I've been waiting for that moment, because I'm like, they're the ones that are definitely going to shake this up, because the rest of us are like, AI has taken over. But Mary, and I trust Mary. Mary's been Mary's a great friend of yours also. I really do trust her. I think that she's right about that.
Yeah, I think with Mary, she's had a lot of crazy stuff happen with her. I mean, she was really bringing all this information out, and they just attacked her like crazy, and it's really sad. I've got all these people bugging the crap out of me. I've been trying to.
They're blowing James up.
Yeah, I gotta hide my phone. Well, I have an appointment that I'm supposed to do at 2, so I'll have to wrap this up pretty quick.
Sure.
But I was just checking to see if that was who it was, and but yeah, I mean, it's sad, what Mary's gone through. I've seen a lot of it. There's a lot of people that, I mean, they would set her up and try to disqualify what she's doing, and she's really bringing out high level stuff and information is coming through these kids, and it's great. I totally support that. But anybody that's on track, that's really high level stuff, they're going to get hammered.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
You can't escape it. You can't even middle your way ground through it. You really can't. You have a message. They're coming after you. You better be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Well, James, I really appreciate all your time and everything, as always. What would you like to leave the audience with until we see you again?
The basics, basically, we need to have an open mind, a loving heart, and pure intent if we're going to be contacted. And unfortunately, even our government, our leaders, and the UFO community, UAP, they haven't risen to the occasion. And there are some in there that have, but until we do that as a collective, they're going to have a really hard time being here. They're only going to work with people who rose to the occasion. And we have to start living according to universal law, which is universal peace and brother, sister love, individual freedom and prosperity for all. We have to operate from that level and be consistent. And know when you meet these beings, your stuff's going to come up. You're going to have to do some healing work and own it. Don't project or blame, own it. And we all need to support each other and realize we are going to have our times. We are going to have our moments. We are going to be in process, and don't take it personal. Just say, okay, you need time to process. It's like, I'm over here, when you're done, when you're ready. And also too, right now too, is, I always say, being a Christ or being a Buddha doesn't mean being a doormat. We're going to have to set some boundaries right now with the people that are trying to pull you down or keep you within the controlled narrative. We are going to have to call it out and say, okay, no, I'm not going there. Absolutely. But that's the main thing. Just be kind to each other and be kind to the planet. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to have contact. Just be a nice person. It's that easy.
Don't blame the rest of the world for your problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, James, we'll let you get going to your appointment, and always, I'll be in touch soon. And if I don't talk to you before the Corey conference, fill me in on all the.
All right.
Yes.
All right. It's great talking to both of you, and keep up the good work, Phil and Coley. And I think just letting people know they have an option, I think, is so important right now.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have to settle for the crazies and the nonsense and everything. We can do something else.
That's true. That's good dating advice also. There we go. And Bill, I appreciate you as well. Like, you've done so much. It's great to hear you and James together and get your take on stuff. So what would you like to leave the audience with until the next time?
Probably the same message that I left before, and that is similar to James's message. Be kind to one another, love each other. More importantly, love yourself, because you can't love others and be kind to others unless you're kind to yourself. And again, exactly what James says, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to have contact. You know, anyone can do it. You just have to have a kind heart and pure intentions. But literally, I think James said it better than I did last show, so in fewer words.
You both have a very different role to play, but yet I see so many like similar great qualities in the both of you. I think that you have a lot to, you really do. You have a lot to show the world, and I appreciate all you do.
You too. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me back on.
Yes. Yeah. And we look forward to having you back on again soon. That everybody just loves you and showing their support to you. And it's good to see and it's good to feel, I'm sure, because you probably don't get a lot of that in your community or around you. But yeah, it's just know on a greater scale that there are people out there that really do care.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Yes. And I'll be talking to you soon. But yeah, what a great show. Always a breath of fresh air to have James, and absolutely Phil. I just absolutely love Phil. He has done, I relate so much to that fight, and I appreciate when other people are willing to go out there and, you know, not that I'm willing to stand out there too on the front lines, but there's a lot that comes with it. And so just always do know and appreciate what others are willing to do, you know, in spite of all the chaos and everything around, you know, people, your intentions, that will probably just sum it up best, but your intentions definitely set them in the right direction. But anyway, Monday, Maya and I will be back again at 8 p.m. On Wednesday, we do have BFD, Bigfoot Dwarf. He'll be on Wednesday, which is very cool. And we have a great week coming up. So definitely stay tuned. Enjoy what's left of your weekend. Definitely be good to one another. And yeah, until next time, thank you for taking the journey into the unknown. I'm Coley, also known as ColeyUFO. If you have not already, please hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell and share. Also, thank you to our executive producer, Blazer. He's doing miraculous things behind the scenes and could not appreciate you more. And also wanted to go through Moon at Noon. Thank you so much for that super chat. And I'm gonna try this once more. See if I can get this to go. So thank you for that.
Welcome, new SNX radio member. Let's celebrate with a neon light.
So second time was a charm on that one. Thank you so much for that, Moon at Noon. And then I'm going for Blazer. I'm coming for you next as soon as I get back here. So, and we have 5 new memberships for people. We're so excited to have you. Welcome to the SNX crew, the Woo crew. And for that, oh gosh, Blazer, you're going to kill me on this one. I am...
Welcome, new SNX radio member.
Right. Yeah. So we're going down that road. We're slowly getting it together. And obviously, I'm a little awkward. So anyway, I just want to thank you both so much. We appreciate that. And welcome new members. Always appreciated for your support and dedication. Keep the mission alive and go out there and be good to one another. So again, I will be seeing you tomorrow night with Maya. We will be here at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, again, thank you for taking that journey into the unknown. I'm Coley, also known as ColeyUFO. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and be safe out there.
UFOs in the night we're flying.